It's cold.
No,
It was in the garage.
No, everybody's here. Stand for pledge of allegiance. Remain standing for a minute of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. Like to thank everybody for showing up tonight. It's nice that people take an interest in city government. First thing is approval agenda, additions, corrections to the agenda.
I would like to, I got a couple of questions about the financial reports.
Okay,
So
under
somewhere's along there, I don't care where.
that Mike guy that we had here in the hiring process, he wanted me to maybe as an individual that we need a motion on to, if we want to proceed to hire somebody as far as helping out
Ashley, yeah.
in the clerk's division. So I don't know, should we put this all both under new business?
Sure.
Tom's, mine. Anybody else? Anything? Okay. Approval of the minutes and the bills.
It says I was absent from the last meeting. I was not, I was here, so that will be corrected.
What was that, Ashley? I didn't quite hear you.
In the last minutes, and the top it said I was absent from the meeting.
Oh,
I was here.
well, I can't find mine right now with all this paper, but anyway, there was some stuff in there about the TNT meeting as truth and taxation, right?
Yeah.
That was in December, right? Right? We do that, we have to do that by December 10th or 20th, isn't it? And that's when we have our truth and taxation meeting. I believe it starts out right at the top with TNT.
I think that was, there. I usually select the top section of who was present and slide it over.
Oh, I apologize because I can't find mine right now. Oh, too much paper. Anybody else with additions or corrections to the minutes?
Want the sheriff's department to go right at the beginning?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
And I guess,
Back to here.
yeah, I guess I should say that we had a personnel meeting here. Sarah and I talked to Chris Kennedy alone for a while, and then we met with Ashley and Jake, and we have invited him to stay at the council meetings. He's going to help explain some things that maybe we could approve upon what we discussed tonight. So where would we like to put Chris?
Near the top so we can get going, I suppose.
No, you can put me down with your new stuff there, that's fine. They asked me to stay. so.
Okay.
Want to put it under city clerk or right before clerk or?
I don't have a copy of your agenda, so
Okay,
whatever works.
well, why don't we do it right after the council of governments? That way, Minnesota Valley Council of Governments, that way, like you say, or are you going to stay for the whole remainder of the meeting, Chris, or?
Stay as long as you guys want me to.
Okay, all right.
I don't have a copy of the agenda, so when you talk about this stuff, I have no clue what you're talking about it.
Real quick, Chris.
Any other additions, corrections? If not, somebody make a motion then to approve the agenda.
So move.
Someone to second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Approval of the minutes or the bills also. Questions on the bills? I have one here. It says Quill for pre-stamped envelopes. 440, well, you might as well say $445. How many envelopes do you get for that?
That's the 250 or 500.
Boy, they got City of Good Thunder pre-stamped on them or what?
It's City of Good Thunder, and then it's got the actual, like, the stamp on it, the forever stamp postage.
Is there anybody local that could do those envelopes? Because, that's, if there's 500, it's 80 cents a piece. I bought stuff from Quill. It seems like it's a little high.
I think the only way to be cheaper than that is if we meter our own postage. Because those, we get the envelopes.
Yeah, but this is just the self-addressed envelope or,
Yeah, but it's got the stamp on it.
for the
Postage is on it.
also?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then it ain't so bad. All right. Anybody else with questions on the bills? Someone make a motion to approve?
Move.
On second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. All right, we have Jessica from Minnesota Valley Council of Governments.
Hi, that's me.
All right,
I'm here to just talk about the Council of Governments. I know you guys remember in the past, so Ashley kind of asked me to come out and talk about it. I don't know if she gave you guys a handout. Okay, that kind of outlines our service. I kind of like to think of it as a bonus employee. Kind of be a first call if things come up for action, just know how to deal with it. We do HR, training, land use, administration type stuff. Basically, I mean, we talk before you can do the first call rather than your attorneys, like I save you a lot of money. And I honestly, I don't know everything, but I have a lot of people behind me, so resources that I can find for situations that come up for you guys. I don't readily have to answer. Currently, we have 12 other jurisdictions that I member, so it's kind of thing we're gonna get from. Somewhere in size. That's that. It gives you a general outline and we answer any question you might have.
how long has it been since we had the council of governments? It's about about 3 years at least.
2019, I think, was when we had it last.
Mhm.
I guess we didn't know what they did. We didn't know what service they were providing.
Well, they helped in a hiring process that time, right?
Right. Both times they did.
2 times, yeah, but we got 2 different individuals.
Yep, you guys were during a turnover period.
Yeah.
And it seemed like we were teaching the second guy more than he knew.
Right, right.
Exactly right.
Yep, and I think Travis was new when you guys were going through your recruitment.
Yeah.
And then you left shortly after that, but we also have a team of senior advisors as well, so it's not like I'm your only resource with the council of governments, but I'm kind of your contact person, so, and I'm happy to sit on interviews, help with recruitments. You know, if Ashley needs to take a week off, you guys need somebody to come in and answer phones, that's something I do too, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the spectrum is quite broad and we cover a lot of projects. Usually we don't have things that are out, say you had a bigger project come in, sometimes we'll quote an hourly service for that, but depending on how much you use throughout the year, usually that's not a typical situation if you do open your membership.
You said you'd have an individual. Would it be you or would it be?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm the only staff. So
Oh,
I am the only person working at the Council of Governments aside from, like I said, our senior leadership and my manager, she's the director, and she's the director of HR for the city of Mankato. So
You look familiar. Did you
I
help
was thinking that
Pemberton?
too. Yes, I did help.
Okay,
Pemberton,
so
yeah.
Pemberton lost their clerk and didn't have one for a while and she
Oh,
did a
okay.
real nice job.
all right.
That's where I knew. I thought I recommended it too.
Do you have to be a member of it, or be a full, I mean, we were a full member of that for many, many years. And then we got to be like a partial member. I mean, you either in or you out.
You're kind of either in or you're out, but it doesn't mean that you couldn't use our service. So, but then it's billed hourly. So-
Yeah, okay.
So really your benefit, if you think you're gonna use us a lot, it's worth it to just do the membership. We do prorate, so say you guys decided to join, do a full year. Just based on that month you start. And then we bill 2 times a year, so it's not one hit. Charge the first half around February, March, and then the second.
I agree with Jim. I didn't know that there was all this entire scope of
Yeah, it's so
services that
broad.
you provide. This might be something that would be beneficial to us with, for Ashley in the mentoring process of getting some help with some of the things we've wanted help with, really.
So how does that work now? It's six, but it'll cost us $6,000 join
It's like
I think
45.
I did your math about 4,700 roughly,
per capita, 36 cents.
36 cents per
Okay,
capita.
okay.
Yeah. 47.
And then you get charged by the hour beyond that?
No, if you're members, you do not get charged hourly.
Okay.
If you did not choose to have a membership, but you wanted our service.
And would you then be able to have somebody that would be able to be here with Ashley and bring her up to
It's
speed?
kind of an as needed basis, so I can't
No, we think
guarantee that I
that
could.
kind of as needed is needed, you know, I mean, we know it's
Sure,
needed.
sure.
This isn't bad. It's just that
Yep.
we want her to be the clerk of, that everybody wants,
Yeah, I mean, I'll use Pemberton as an example. They were without a clerk for, I think, 3 months, so I went down there 2 days a week and filled in for them, and still with Brittany, she's kind of getting settled in. I'll go down or call her and say, how are things going? Do you want me to come sit with you for a half a
Yeah.
day? And I do that, so absolutely.
And that would be included in the base.
Yep, that's included in your membership.
How much is your hourly rate?
Hourly rate, I believe is $75 an hour. I don't know if that's been reviewed for 2022.
How much was it? 75?
75 an hour.
Okay, all right. Is Pemberton a member?
Yep, they just
Okay.
came on late last year, yes.
Could you get all the work done and how long were you at the clerk at Pemberton?
Well, I just filled in for 3 months.
3 months, but
Yeah.
could you handle all the work in 3 hours a
I would
week?
say that I was keeping them afloat. I wouldn't say
Okay.
that I was.
My
doing everything.
paycheck.
Yeah. So, by no means could all the work for Pemberton be done in 2 days.
Yeah.
But I was doing the bare minimum for them to get them through and then helping them with the recruit.
Because I mean, the end of the year or preparing for an audit takes a
Yeah,
lot of
so,
time.
Yeah, that takes a lot of hours.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You're voiced in Banyan too, aren't you, Jessica?
Yeah, I do have a background in Banyan, their utility billing software, and then now I've dabbled in it, some of their fund accounting as well.
Is Banyan a good system?
I believe it is. I like that they're local, and I think that their customer service is beyond, because anytime you run into an issue, you can just call them and they'll help you out.
On the land use part, you guys can help with EDA planning and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah, we do have resources for that.
Okay.
How about grant applications?
Grant applications, I've helped with a few of those. I can't say I'm an expert at it, but like I said, I have a lot of.
But I mean, it falls under your,
Yep.
if you were a member, it falls under there. Do you write it or do you give direction to, say, our clerk to?
Usually
help,
it's a
right?
coordinated effort. I mean, if you guys really had a grant you needed help with, and maybe she was in the middle of a big project that had absolutely no time to help with it, we would definitely step in, but typically it's something that we would work together on.
Mhm. How do you find how many opportunities there is for different forms of grants? I mean, there's probably many. How do you find the ones that would fit the city?
That's a really good question that I don't know that I can answer on the spot, but
We don't know either, so
Yeah.
just trying to wonder.
could be prioritizing your projects within the city that you want to get done, and then seeing if there were grants to support those
Well,
areas.
just to lay it out there, our biggest one, if we took over the school building down here, is there multiple grants for helping turn that into a community center? Council, what other ones? To renovate some of the, would it be the older heater air conditioning to renovate,
I think there is, Robert, but you have to have a specific project in mind. Like you have to have an HVAC project in mind to apply for that type of grant or construction grant or a renovation grant.
But I mean, do you know where to go to get that kind of
That
grant?
would be something that I would research for you guys. We're not like a strictly grant writing,
Okay, right.
place, but I would do the research for you, so Ashley wouldn't have to dig deep and figure out where do I find these grants? How do I apply for them? What qualifies? That's kind of the legwork that I would do for you guys.
And like our water department across the street here, there's, we need to do some updating there. We need to kind of know where to go.
Sure. And that's absolutely something we'd help with. And, we also have our general assembly meetings and our operations committee meetings. So that's when we kind of get all our jurisdictions together and they share ideas. So, if we have another town that's gone through something that you guys are looking to get into, you have somebody to ask questions and it's already been through the process. And usually I kind of keep track of what people are doing too. So if you say you needed help with something at your water treatment or whatever, I can say, oh, Cleveland just did this. Let's reach out to them and see what they did.
Mhm.
How many meetings would you attend our regular council meeting or?
I typically don't unless you guys have a reason for me to come. I mean, I'm happy to come down here. It's not something I typically do, but I certainly can if there's.
And that would be in the base,
Yep, that's all covered in the membership.
you might as well.
Or, if you need to take minutes, I've done that too.
I believe like back in the day, when Cheryl had to be gone or something happened, we had Laura Elbach here and she was from the league back then.
Yep, and Laura's our senior advisor, so
She is, okay.
she's still connected. Yep,
She came back.
I go to her all the time for.
How about Krista Whitty? She's the one that,
She's dead.
oh, she isn't there then.
Passed away a few years.
Guess I'm out of date.
So she
Got that one covered.
The executive director.
Okay.
And she worked under Krista.
Okay. Huh. Well, I guess we can take this all under advisement. Maybe we can talk a little bit more on it later tonight, Thank you for offering all your services that you do here. I mean, I think we're in a city of need that we need some guidance in certain areas. So maybe your organization could help us out.
Okay, well, and if you guys think of anything after the meeting tomorrow, feel free to call or email me.
All right,
For specific questions.
council, anyone else with questions?
No, I think it's a really promising thing. I think it'd be really good.
Mhm.
I think so too.
I think so. A lot of these things that they offer are things we've been looking at.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jessica.
Don't see on here, and I might be missing it, where we have the sheriff's report.
It's in the,
No, she's not on there. I didn't add her because I wasn't sure if she was coming or submitting, but she's here.
Okay, well, she's here. So in case you have some other things to do, we can,
Told you.
So I'll be happy to stay if you need me, but for the month of January, we had a total of 86 hours for the 40 that were contracted for. Some of the calls for service here in town were a few ambulance assists, welfare check, suspicious vehicles, disturbance, and a harassment. All those aren't very exciting calls for you to hear about, but at the end of the day, those are very high priority calls, so that's also good too. Do you guys have any comments, questions, concerns for me? Addressed?
are our ordinances down to the county attorney so you can enforce junkyards, unlicensed cars? Are they down to the county attorney? I know they asked like a year ago when Kyle was here that we were supposed to forward them down. Do you know, are they there?
I can certainly look. I haven't looked for them recently. I know that I was talking to Ashley about possibly updating some of your snow emergency ordinances, and I know that she submitted some of those new ones. If there's any other specific ones you want me to look for, I can certainly look in my car today and email Ashley and say, yep, all those are there. Or I can also contact the county attorney and see if they're waiting on some additional information to approve them. I know the state's a little slow on getting some things entered into our system, so it's not perfect by any means, but it does take a little bit of time.
Are all them entered to the county attorney?
I sent a spreadsheet of them to, I think her name is Jessica, down at the office down there. And I haven't heard back, so
And that was like last year then with Kyle, or
I couldn't tell you the date exactly that it was, but it was last year sometime.
a while ago?
Yeah.
Okay, it's because, every spring, we get people that got messes. And I think last year was Kyle still our guy? He said we can't do anything because we don't have your ordinances on file. So I know there's a number of cars that are unlicensed sitting on the public streets. Is that against the law?
I know that some people in town have come up to me about expired registration. Is that what you're talking about on
Yep.
the streets? I mean, I can't say or tell you that when I run the plate, if it's up to date or not. But I can tell you some of the concerns for expired registration around town. And you don't have anything to worry about right now. Sometimes people order the registration online, and I still have people saying they ordered them a year ago and they still haven't received them in the mail. Some people go to the DMV and actually get them in hand, but for whatever reason, never put them on or lose them. But when you run their plate, the registration is up to date. It just doesn't appear that it is to your general eye.
Wow, you mean you can run down the road with a 21 tab that was supposed to be replaced here in January and nobody cares? Because if you call it in, it may be current, but they still don't have the sticker, right? That's what you're saying?
Well, there is a statute saying that you do have to put your current registration on so it can be up to date. But that's a petty misdemeanor, and I mean, you can cite someone for that, but if you'd like to call it in, I can certainly address it for you.
And I think our ordinance reads, it either has to be licensed and insured to sit on the property, right? I believe.
Unless it's covered, right? In cover, undercover?
I think I think your ordinance reads as junk, a junk vehicle if it's not properly licensed and insured. So
It has to be like all of the above.
Right.
Ordinance
So you
reads
can
it.
consider it as being junk. It's not, so it's more how we define junk vehicles for nuisance properties rather than whether the vehicle is licensed or registered itself, because that's covered under state statute.
But we do require insurance on a vehicle, right? I'm sitting in the yard.
I don't know that we require insurance, but quite, as a practical matter, we have no way of enforcing insurance.
When
We can't
Tri,
ask them the question without a warrant.
when Tri-City was here, they wouldn't enforce even tabs on private property. Because they said you could go down a second and have it tabbed and it wouldn't be worth their time. On the street, that's a different deal, I think.
Hmm.
What she's saying is some of them might be licensed just because their tabs aren't on there, they're good to go. And some people do steal tabs too. You know, so you could get your tabs, put them on there, someone razor blades them off, and
I know on the commercial end of it, if you don't have your new license tabs by February 28th or whatever it is, and you're March 2nd or 3rd and they stop a commercial vehicle, you're in trouble.
The sanctions for commercial vehicles are usually quite lots more severe than
Yeah.
we have for private.
All right. Any other questions?
and you said 86 hours.
I don't think we've heard one complaint yet about the sheriff's department, not seeing you or whatever. So,
I see them all hours.
yep.
That's what I get told, so that's good.
It's just different hours. It's good.
Well, and the fact that we're contracted, we're getting more than we're contracted for.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's nice.
Are you our main person now, right?
Yep.
Yep, okay. How many different people or how many different officers patrol Good Thunder in a given week? Is there you maybe, but is there like 5, 6 other ones that do our patrolling too?
So minus our administration, if I can do some quick math here, I mean, you have at least 25 or so, give and take, road deputies that come down here and patrol. I
Okay,
mean, I was down here earlier when school got out, so.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of it. So, I mean, we all go to the different towns sometimes. One will be in Good Thunder, one will be in Vernon, and we'll just swap. So it looks like you guys are getting consistent coverage, which you are. So I feel like you guys are getting more consistent coverage, and even during the nighttime when other things are happening, we're around. So there's been many times where calls specifically in Good Thunder go out and we have someone sitting right on the edge of town and it's handled in a matter of minutes versus, compared to Tri-City or whatever. So.
like Tom says, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning and you can tell by the headlights or the taillights who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So, all right, nobody else have any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, Good Thunder, the fire department. We had January, the month of January, they had 4 medicals, 1 car accident, 1 mutual aid, blood drive. There was 26 units of blood. Oh, Tom, no, you're not on there anymore, right? Okay, I got thinking maybe you were supposed to give this report. All right. Was there anything to add to this at all for the fire department? Anybody or?
I got just 1 second, I got a letter from Phil just the other day. It is the SC20 roster, that's the approval, the $500 per firefighter. They've got 19 firefighters and they just need council approval for that $500 per firefighter rate.
Yeah.
Motion approved.
Someone second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And did that go up this year or was it that last year? I know we,
I think there was only 18 firefighters last year, so the dollar amount is the same, but I think the number of firefighters changed or.
yeah, but I mean, how long ago was it, Tom, when that dollar amount changed for,
A couple, 3 years ago.
Was it?
Call numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, the $25 an hour a call. And then I think last year you guys approved the chief's salary and then the assistant chiefs.
Yeah.
That, or maybe it was 2 years ago during COVID, that rate changed.
does anybody know if we're keeping in pace with other towns with volunteer fire departments as far as that?
I don't know, Jake, do you know anything more?
As far as our ad call rate, I think we're staying pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Just with talking to Mapleton a little bit. It sounds like we're right in there, and Mapleton has a very high volume of calls.
Well, the thing of it is, it's going to get very difficult for small towns to keep their volunteer fire department alive because so many younger generation don't get involved.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Tom here and Ron here and that Tom and you know, you're probably one of the youngest guys on there.
Yeah, I am.
You know, and I think it's probably going to be very hard for a small town fire department to keep staff. So, you know, if we got to give a little booster there to make it more inviting, you know, I think it's things you have to look at
Yeah,
or think about.
yeah, I think so. It's actually kind of scary looking into the future, and you don't know what it holds for our department. And it's a
No.
pretty tremendous service. It's great being on. I wouldn't have it any other way.
I mean, when you get called out or Mapleton, I mean, pretty much they call other towns to assist pretty quickly anymore, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it because of staffing?
Yep. There's nobody around during the day.
Yeah, especially during the days. Yeah. Mhm.
And through the years, we've learned that why be out there for 6 hours when you can call help and be out there for 2,
There you go. Absolutely.
you know?
Mhm.
Be safer that way too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's it for fire department. We're down to city maintenance.
I don't have too much for you guys tonight. I don't want to see that when it ends up. But we got the dehumidifier over in the pump house, and I don't know what you think of it, Brian, but I think it's doing a fairly good job. It'll be,
Yeah, I'll talk about that pump. That's,
yeah, and I got that listed on here as well. So dehumidifiers in, as you know, right now, the humidity isn't anything. So our pipes aren't sweating like they normally would in the summer, but I think it feels warmer in there to me. But one of the problems we are having over there is we're having some valves and our filter pump is failing. Brian and I spoke about it, I'd say a couple months ago now, and I got in contact with Javins out of Mankato to come out and give us a quote on that filter pump. It'd be the pump body and then the actual motor behind it. What's going on there is the seal on the impeller shaft is leaking and there's no tightening that packing anymore.
yeah, it's a packing seal. It's meant to drip
Yep.
and then be caught and then be directed to drain. And then as it gets worse and worse, you tighten the packing to minimize it. And I think we put that in 15 years or more ago.
Weren't we always gonna get another one and have a backup?
Yeah, no, well, we decided that it was so readily available from Tyne Well, you can order one and have it back at that time.
Yeah,
There wasn't a long lead time as we do have now, but Tyne was able to get one in a week or so. So we always thought that in the event of a pump failure, we could operate off the well tower
yeah.
and order it and then put it in and then go back. But it's at the end of its useful life. It's getting there. I mean, it's not failing, but it's spraying water around from that where the pump seal is, and the impeller housing is getting,
Ate up.
they get cavitation and they pretty soon it'll be like the old one when we replaced it.
Can you back that nut out, put new graphite packing in behind it?
The threads and everything are so, I'm sorry. I'm
It,
answering you.
no, Ryan's right. It's just,
It's shot.
it's all one piece.
All right.
I mean, it's just kind of fused
It's
together.
like a stalactite.
Yeah, so I think we should go back to where we were. I think we should get another just complete motor and pump
On a skid.
on a skid. So if we have a failure, it's changed out in a few hours and we don't lose any time. Right now, like you say, ordering parts could be a downtime of weeks, months. So, did you check with Tyne Well to get a new one?
It's $4,800. I just got a hold of Aaron today to get that back. I don't have it in writing, so I can't show you guys. I did find something, whoever your maintenance was in 2017, got a quote and it was $7,100. Why it's cheaper, I have no idea, because everything's up right now.
But that's just a pump.
That was for a pump and motor that.
Oh, okay.
Would that be another one would it be a mechanical seal or would it be a packing seal like this one?
I didn't get details on the pump. It was the same. I gave him all the info
The
on the
Deming.
plate. Yep.
Okay. Then it would be the same, it'd be the same kind of seal.
Centrifugal pump. But I haven't heard anything back from Javins, so they could potentially be cheaper.
Should we make a motion to have up to, so we can get this process moving? Or just make a motion to get it replaced?
Well, you gotta have it, I guess.
Yeah, we gotta have it.
You gotta
Just get it through,
Yeah.
get it through the well, because there are.
go through a reputable dealer that you know what you're getting
Yeah, I mean,
and,
Tyne is our well.
Yeah.
My understanding is they do our well, and I think they're fair. I mean, a little bit I've been around them, they've been good. They were good to us on that check valve that we had as well.
They did the installation on this pump.
Okay, and that was 15 years ago, you said, or
Long time ago.
At least.
Yeah.
In a
been
while.
around forever.
I've been here 20, so I'd say about 15.
okay.
So,
So I guess, if they know what we got, maybe they're familiar.
maybe there's a new version where it has a mechanical seal versus the packing seal. 'Cause
Okay.
that just seems to be an ongoing maintenance issue with the water on the floor.
Yeah, that's a mess.
That and it creates the humidity that you bought a humidifier they're trying to take out of the
Yeah,
building.
that's true.
Is that pump on, is that motor on a VFD?
No,
You think
there is a
you would help
VFD
it?
over there. There is one. Remember we bought it and had them install it and then it never worked. It didn't, I don't know if the motor is not VFD. You have to buy a VFD capable motor.
Great.
And who put that in? That was,
What's
Yeah.
his name? Yeah.
the local guy,
Yeah.
Luke. He put that in and, no, it didn't work. Didn't work.
That was a soft start.
Yeah,
So we don't have no soft start anymore?
it's in there, but it's on,
Oh.
you can't put it on auto because then it kicks out the circuit breaker and then you don't have a pump. So we run it on hand or on, off.
Yeah.
And the motor just starts and stops, but the soft start capability, it would start to do its thing and then it would just kick out. He came and looked at it and he said that, I think it's that the motor's not VSD rated.
Okay, so that would be the
Yeah,
question.
that would be something to put in your notes.
That's why I wanted.
We
to
have the
get that straight
VSD
in my
already.
head.
That's an expensive piece. And if we could do that, that would ramp it up. That would save the coupler.
Okay,
Yeah, because it's hard on the coupler when that.
Well, that and I
Hard
think it
start.
would help your cavitation inside too, if it's not.
The cavitation is from not the right back pressure. So when I have to finish my backwash, I turn the pump on and I slowly close the valve until I can hear when it's got a little back pressure,
Yeah,
and that's where I leave it set. But if you run that pump wide open with no back pressure, that's when it cavitates and it'll wreck the balloon and the impeller.
right.
So Gotta have a little back pressure on it.
Anyway, so with all that being said, I'll make a motion that we purchase this pump and motor
So why
on a
is it-
skid, ready to put in.
Also, though, I mean, we need some pump, some valves over there too.
Yeah, there's a couple
You said
of
a long time ago.
those gate valves are leaking around the stems and you can't tighten the packing on them anymore either, so.
So does sign just bring them down, put them in too, or is that something you could get at,
Last time I had one put in we used Mankato plumbing back then, but Javens is a good, I told him about Javens. That's who I use for mechanical at Wishback and they're non-union and I mean, not that that means anything to anybody, but to me it does, and they're a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Which by right, the guy could put it in himself. I mean, I put them in years ago. You could just cut the bolts off, put new bolts in.
yeah, you can buy the gaskets and the whole gate valve.
It'll
I
come
mean,
along where you can,
look on the internet, Jake, and see
Yeah.
what you can
Yeah,
put
yeah,
in
see
for
what
a
you can find.
4-inch, probably a 4-inch gate valve in it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. With the flange, bolted fans, and whatever you do, put stainless steel bolts in it.
Yeah.
Make it better or more repairable the next time. So,
All right, well, that covers that.
You have a motion and a second on the floor.
Yeah. Tom made a
I thought I
motion.
seconded it.
You did.
You did.
I said you have he has a first and a second on the.
oh, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
To get that pump.
For how much?
Well, that's gonna be kind of open-ended, or can we do that, Chris?
No.
Gotta have a definite.
$40,000.
What did you say what it was?
4,800.
4,800 was the quote.
I just got the quote today.
I mean, it was
Well, but you need multiple.
But you keep it under.
Would we put
I didn't have-
7,500 on it for valve replacement too?
You need multiple bids.
Pardon?
You need more than one bid.
For that little bit of amount?
Yes,
Really?
I believe your city code requires it.
I thought it was 10,000 or something.
That state statute, but I can go back and take a look at it, but I mean, unless you're using best practices, and this is somebody you've worked with in the past, you know, how do you know that you're getting the best estimate of what the cost is gonna be, or that's an appropriate cost?
So anytime we hire this electrician to come and repair a street light, then we should get multiple.
You can use best practices there because you're using the same electrician
Okay.
over and over again.
Okay,
So if this is somebody, a plumber that you've used over and over again, that's fine. You can use best practices.
well, see,
This is our well guy.
Thine was our well individual or has been,
We'll get a quote from Tyne and Quality Flow.
But just take a look at it.
but should we put a price on it then tonight?
You can put a price on it. I'm fine with that.
7,500.
Up to, somebody want to make a
Amendment.
amendment to the motion?
I'll amend it
Up to
up to 7,500.
All right. Everybody all right with that?
And for kicks, I told him to get a quote from Quality Flow and Tyne.
Yep, okay,
Quality Flow is who does our pumps at the lift station.
yep. Mhm. And did we get that pump or valve in out there yet?
No, it's still, yeah, I was gonna talk about that too.
Okay,
So we'll go right to that now. After the last council meeting, I got in touch with electric pump. And I called them and asked, more questions about bypass. Just in my fear of having to set a bypass up when it's cold and windy and freezing up. So I had them order everything that we need because that was approved. Everything is ordered now and we're set to do this in March. I'm just shooting for a 40-degree couple days. I don't want to bypass running overnight when it's 30 or below, we had some problems with the lift station where we lost power down there and that was miserable enough. It was cold and windy and I don't want to have to go through that again. So as of now, we're set for March unless March turns into wet, cold and snow and it just won't work out. Then
It's not an emergency.
we'll go for April. So that's where we're at there. I was gonna ask, I asked personnel committee about taking a 1-hour lunch. I wanted to get the council's opinion on that. To see if I could work 7:30 AM to 4:30 PM. Now I'm working 7:30 AM to 4 PM. An extra 30 minutes would just give me some more time to make food when I have to and sit down and relax if the family's home. Just enjoy a extra 30 minutes, I guess, and make it up at the end of the day.
My personal opinion is that I like that better because you're around in the day later, which is important to me. Instead of being done at 4:30, you're done at 5.
So then we have to offer that to Ashley too, right?
You have to offer it to all your employees,
Yep.
the same thing, and you have to amend your personnel policy.
Okay. So if, Ashley, would you like having an hour noon or not?
Whatever works best for everybody involved.
Well, I mean, can we have one of one kind and one of the other?
Oh, yeah, you can give it, you can put it in the personnel policy of giving them the option of which way they want to do with it. And if they're working the same hours, so that'd be fine. And then, you know, the employees wouldn't have to make a decision on the spur of the moment.
And so do we allow him to start, say, next Monday, or do we have to wait until it's in the personnel policy?
You can make a motion to amend the personnel policy, then that would just get modified regarding that. So if it, as long as it passes the council, that could get modified tonight.
Council, further discussion on Jake wanting an hour lunch versus a half hour, anybody?
Make the motion, we amend the personnel policy to allow 1 hour lunches.
All right, someone second?
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried.
All right.
Your pump motion too, by the way, has a first, a second, and amendment, but still hasn't been voted on yet.
Pardon?
Your pump motion has a first, a second, and amendment, and still hasn't been voted on by
Oh,
the council.
okay.
Just so you know,
Tom amended it. Made a motion. It was
7,500.
7,500. And the motion was made. Someone to second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Got it?
Yep.
Yes,
Good. Okay.
good.
Follow up on the 1 hour lunch. If the 1 hour lunch is happening, is the 15-minute break's not happening?
No, the 15-minute breaks would be separate than the 1 hour
Okay.
lunch.
And that's state law anyway on that.
I just wanted just confirmation.
Anything else, Jake?
Yep, last thing I got for you guys, and let me know if I did put it in there. Can't remember, on February 3rd, did I put in on my daily log? Ashley and I's meeting with the insurance adjuster for the National League of Cities.
You did put it in your minutes.
Okay, so the council's aware of.
All right. One thing down the lagoon, you know, when somebody put that roof on there, you can't see that warning light, only if you're in the lagoon area, right?
Right, pretty much.
Years ago, we could see it from 66. I think Ron could see it from his house. Can we get that relocated so we can see that better in case there's a problem down there? I mean, it was before you could come down the hill and see that light. We knew we had a problem. But it got a board in there and you can't see it anymore.
Yeah, that, and there's an auto dialer in that panel that's never been used.
Oh, really?
There's a sensiphone auto dialer in there.
Yeah.
It's been there since I started, and I don't think it's ever been,
And if
I
it was,
think you have to run a phone line to it or something, but
yeah, that's, so in other words, if it kicked off or something, it would dial you or
Yeah.
Jake or whoever.
alarm condition, it would dial
Yeah.
whatever
yeah,
numbers you had in there.
This is out of the lagoon,
Yeah,
because we talked about doing that here too, whenever we had like a problem at the. Didn't we have an auto dialer or something?
Well, that's already on the phone now, right?
Yep, that's
Oh,
installed.
that is, okay. We have one out at the lagoon that's just not hooked up.
Well, we don't know if we have a
Since it
line
was
out there.
new. It's in the panel there, but I don't know if they even have a phone line to it or anything. And
Is that something we should look into, getting a phone line out to it?
I think we should have it quoted and get it done.
I wonder if they even charge to put it out there, do you think, a single phone line or?
I don't know that answer. I would guess yes.
I would guess so.
But I don't know that.
Well,
I think
check
the-
with,
The book for that thing is like this thick, so I hope this young feller's smart on reading books, because I
well, do you think it's out of date,
don't know.
that
Well,
dialer? That
So
we
I've
might
been here
have to. go-
20 years.
Well, why don't we have it looked at and
Yeah.
quoted, and if it's possible, then we can decide then after it's quoted.
Yeah,
All right. And then, like I say, get that light, well, we wouldn't really need the light then if it dials up, right? Or is that still something we'd
be a
want?
secondary visual,
Yeah,
somebody who's done, yeah. Wouldn't hurt to remove
Alright.
that light, put it on top.
I knew about the light here, but I didn't know about the light out there.
yeah, that's
red
been out
light.
there for many years, but when they put the roof over it to cover the light up. So, All right, that it then, Jake?
Yep. that's
I
all
got,
got.
I got a question.
Yep.
You mentioned that the power was out down at the lagoon. What was the trouble anyway?
It was,
You
a
want that?
yeah, I don't know what actually caused it, but either way, it was a blown fuse by the body shop. And so apparently our power
Oh,
comes
okay.
from the body
Yeah.
shop down and out.
Lost a
And-
phase.
Yeah,
I
we're
got-
only getting one
Yeah.
point.
I went there to do my daily
Yeah.
and the red light was on for high level. And all 4 pumps, I put them one at a time on hand, nothing. And so I called him and told him we must have lost a transformer or one phase. And so he called Luke. Luke came right away. And Luke said, it's not at the panel, it's Excel. And then he came on.
It was like pulling teeth. out there.
I mean, he got the generator hooked up right away.
There was something about the switching in the generator too, wasn't there?
Yeah,
That needs to, something to be changed.
I labeled it on
Yeah.
the actual control panel, but
Oh.
the generator sheet, whoever made that, you wouldn't get very far following those instructions. So Luke and I were able to figure it out and get the pumps going.
So you got it all marked now, in
Yep, it's marked and I think.
case you're not around.
Yep, somebody could do it. My 3-year-old could, I looked that up, I think, no, but it's marked now and it'd just be getting the tractor hooked up to the generator.
The tractor ran out there for what, 12, 15 hours?
Yeah, it was probably 15 hours. I fueled it a few times that night. That was a cold night though. That was,
Yeah, it's freezing.
it was sucking fuel down like crazy.
And you know, we're very fortunate that we purchased that. I don't know if we've used that before, have we?
Couple times.
I think we have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've used it a few times,
No, I guess Brian Beckel took it down there once, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
couple times. Yeah.
So it's very fortunate we have it to
That's what it's for.
Mhm.
Yeah,
make sure everything's fine. So. All right. Anybody else questions for Jake?
Jake, did you want to touch on that snow blower that you, for the tractor or whatever?
Oh,
you
yeah.
said?
Yeah, I didn't even write that down. We have been using Robert's snow blower for all of 5 years. Is that something, there's some repairs that I've made on it and there's some more repairs that were made prior to me coming. That I wouldn't accept it, I guess, if I were to receive it back in the condition that it's in. How do you guys want to approach that? I think it should be addressed because we shouldn't get to use something for free for that amount of time. I've been using it this winter quite a bit and it's handy to have around. I would say whether we give it back to Robert or if you guys would like, I'd be interested in having one for that tractor. We're doing some looking for a different one, but the one that's on there, that's Robert's. I think it functions fine. It's not the prettiest to look at, but it also hasn't been taken care of.
It needs paint, yeah.
Since we've had it. I don't know what it looked like prior, but at least it's taken a lot of salt, and a lot of rocks on, so. But as far as mechanically, it's functioning good. All the bearings are good and they all take grease and the gearbox works well, so. Chains are good and tight and the sprockets look good on it too.
What's one worth?
You know what, that thing, I told Jake you'd have to call up Lorenz and give him the serial number. That thing is very old, you know, but they were built very good back then. So
Yeah.
I have no clue. $1,500, I don't know. The best thing you could do is
Check into it.
call the factory, get it, how the age of it, and ask them what the value is. That's all you could do. How should that be handled, Chris?
If the city's looking at purchasing it from you, we should get probably a couple estimates of what the value is, and then the city can take a look at that. Obviously, it would be something you would not vote on, but if the council wanted to purchase that from you, they could look at doing that. The other alternative would be is if you had those numbers and you decided you wanted to donate it to the city could consider whether or not they wanted to accept the donation, and then you would, take the tax write-off.
Okay,
But either way, you can make your decision as to how you want to deal with that and what you'd want to sell it for. But the council itself would make the decision as to whether to go forward independent of your vote.
all right. Anything else, Sanjay? You get that date of it, I'm sure that
Okay.
thing was bought 30 years ago.
Okay.
the same thing the city had to begin with, isn't it?
Yeah, you had a smaller version of it. Yep. And that's gotta be at least 30 years ago, don't
I've been gone that long.
it? So, all right, nothing else then, maybe we should,
Preference, Robert, or what you'd like to see? I mean,
I guess I've never thought about it as, my thoughts are, it's always been in a shed over there. And yeah, it needs paint. You know, the best thing to do is take it to Chris Steele during the summer. Let them sandblast it up, paint it, you know, and you'd have something that could serve the city of Good Thunder for 30 more years, because there is years that never got used, you know. So I don't know if it's gotten used in the last 2 or so, you know.
It's about the perfect size for that tractor. It actually handles it pretty good.
It felt heavy.
yeah, I think last time I remember out, Jerry Burr had it out, didn't he?
Who?
Jerry, the last time I remember it being out, but
Oh. Somebody had it out and dragged it down the highway and wore out both of the stands and broke it all up, because it wasn't that way when I used it. So anyway, but Jake's got that all welded back up now, so just find out, I guess, you know, we'll see what the value is and go that route. All right. Got it? Then Jake, we're done? All right, I guess maybe we should put Chris now before city clerk.
You want to do wastewater and water?
Oh, boy, yeah, we should do that. Hang on a second, Chris.
Brian needs to go.
Get out of here.
Just, I'll be brief. Last week I went to the Minnesota Wastewater Operators Association meeting in Faribault for my ongoing education. I need credits to maintain my license, and my work paid for that. Interesting things. It's where you hear what's coming down the pipe. I found out why Amboy wants to put in an RO system, and that's because of the chloride limitations that they're gonna start putting on cities with limits on how much chloride they can have in their wastewater. So they figure that if they make RO water and supply it to the citizens, they won't need their water softeners, and thus the chloride in their wastewater will go down. So that's their solution. I talked to the engineer that's putting in their system, and he explained that to me. We talked about PFAS. Every few years, the MPCA comes up with a new thing that they're gonna try to remove or initiate. You know, for the longest time, it was phosphorus, and now we all have phosphorus limits. And then it's the chloride, and that's coming down the pipe. And now it's something called PFAS, and PFAS is I can't even say the word, it's so long, but what it boils down to, it's things that make things waterproof. It's chemicals. They're finding it in women's breast milk. They're finding it in small, and we're talking parts. I measure things in parts per million for the wastewater and water. And for some other things we measure in parts per billion. This is parts per trillion. Parts per trillion. And they're starting to put limitations on wastewater, on how much of this PFAS that you can have. And it's very, very difficult to remove. So I don't know how that'll, you know, always the small cities are the last ones to become a part of it, but I know it was essential in the this recycling thing just outside of town with the food waste. That's part of what shut that down, is because they tested their water that they were gonna land apply, and it was high in PFAS. So it's a thing. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because you'll read about it in the newspapers and stuff, and you'll say, I remember Brian talking about that now.
Just to further that.
Yeah.
The people that are testing it.
Yeah.
If they eat a Snickers bar, they can't test it
Oh,
because it'll
yeah.
affect that parts per trillion.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Is
you
that-
probably with your business
Yeah.
know about the same thing, yeah,
So PFAS
with the leachate and
So I mean,
all the rest.
is it in the water you discharge right now?
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Is it in the
It's in
air
you.
or
Yeah,
is
it's
it,
in, yeah,
it's
Your
everywhere?
blood.
yeah.
It's COVID.
Actually, I read that they're testing, trying to find people who don't have it in their blood, and they did find some, but it was stored blood from World War II.
Oh,
And it's called what? PFOS?
yeah,
Yes.
PFAS, and there's another name for it. Those are letters like poly,
Yeah.
Billy, flyly, gobbledygook.
Yeah,
It's a
I can't
long,
remember either.
it's a long word that.
What is it in the short term? How do you spell it in the short?
PFOS.
Oh, just like it's.
So you're,
There's PFOs.
get that out of the water?
Totally.
If it's in everybody?
PFAs,
everywhere.
PFSs, all kinds of different chemicals out
Yeah.
there and firefighting foam,
Yes,
and, Teflon. Anything non-stick, anything like Kevlar, anything like that, anything shiny, it's in everything.
yeah.
And it's in us already.
Really?
So,
See, I have a partner here, who knows?
Wow.
yeah, so it's very difficult. Like you say, it's very difficult to be rid of it. And I don't think they know what they're gonna have. I don't think they have a clue what they're gonna do yet.
No.
And they're
me
talking about it yet, but
You have to have the same licensing down there for that as
I
Brian
have
does?
a class D.
Okay.
He's got a class B,
neither.
right?
See,
See?
I have seawater and wastewater.
Yeah, I have D.
Well, you had D, yep.
So what's an A and a B?
They're bigger plants, like Mankato.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
it's based on what type
Gallons.
of treatment you have.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that and then see what else have I been up to? Haven't seen you in a while.
Our water issue, that's.
The wastewater, we're doing really, really good.
Well,
Our flows at the pond have been, 40,000 gallons per day and it's been less water than what we're actually pumping from the ground until last Thursday. I did put a thing on the Good Thunder site, on the website, the Facebook site tonight, asking people to please go look in your basements, if you have a vacant house. I listed a whole bunch of stuff. Our typical pumping rate is about 42,000 gallons per day. Yesterday was 100,000, the day before was 100,000, the day before that was 86,000. So since the middle of last week, it's been rising and then it leveled off. And it's the same of what we're pumping and what we're putting in the ponds. So it's going down someone's drain. Someone's got a leak and it's going down their drain.
or we could have an underground water main into a tile like we had out here years ago, right?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
But then it wouldn't go to the pond.
Yeah,
It's getting into the sanitary sewer.
unless.
Yeah, but that one was, wasn't it? Right out here?
I think it was, yeah, I think it was
Yeah,
the,
because it runs right down the center of the street and it broke and it found its way over to the sanitary.
Well, I hope it isn't that.
No, that's all brand new, so. But
But anyway, 100,000 gallons a day. In 10 days, that's 1 million gallons into the wastewater pond. A typical discharge is 5 million gallons. So I mean, we need to find it.
so because it's been so cold and the frost went so deep, especially in streets, will it take it longer to penetrate up through the street
I
to
wonder,
find it?
I wonder.
If it's
Oh,
a
you
main.
should add it up by now.
It
I
should be,
suspect
but,
it's a vacant house with a water meter that probably blew the bottom out.
well, yeah, but I mean,
Frozen thawed.
Since it's going into the sanitary sewer, if it's going to the storm sewer, you're not gonna find it.
In the
Yeah, that-
but even
Your place.
one household couldn't pump that much.
It could, 1 gallon a minute is 1,440 gallons per day. So that'd be 10 gallons a minute would be 14,000. 20 gallons a minute would be 28,000. So you're talking 40 gallons a minute.
That's gotta be an inch.
And one.
That's like a hose wide open.
Yeah, can that do 40 gallons a minute?
I'd say, so how fast can you fill a 5 gallon pail?
Like a toilet running could do up to 1,000 gallons a day, just the seal and the
But
running.
this is 60.
That's like 50 toilets.
Yeah, well, I know, I'm just saying,
It's a bad leak and it's gonna show up.
I definitely don't think,
Show up,
it's toilet, I'm just saying.
Last time I was at
Reference.
a house on Main Street and it was 50 gallons that went through it.
This hits all the.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
He was talking about maybe just doing all the water meters.
Yeah. I forgot to mention Jacob's checking the water meters and whatnot to try to.
There's nothing showing up there?
I drove the streets all weekend looking for water to come out of the ground and I couldn't find anything.
Well, I mean, water meters, so you should be able to just go out with the meter thing of the jig and.
You're gonna,
So right now I got all my numbers written down. And I have to go through all the last readings.
In the software for that thing, when we bought it, there's supposed to be a leak detecting.
Yep.
There it is.
So I have a few houses written down in a notebook up in the shop that have reverse flow and tamper detection that I've never seen before, like they cut their Itron. But otherwise, yeah, I'm going through everybody's numbers and now I'm gonna go through their bills and figure out, what their last usage was.
Yeah.
See if I can't find it that way, but there is some houses that the water shut off to. shut off to.
Yeah.
Whether it's actually shut off at the curb, Monica Globus's was supposed to be and it wasn't. So, you know,
Yeah.
there could be a house like that. And I don't know about it. It's empty. We're just gonna have to see, and I might eventually have to knock on doors, or like I was telling Brian tonight, start calling realtors if the house is sitting
And
empty.
maybe that Good Thunder thing I put on tonight will get people looking.
Well, the old post office down there, that meter used to hang out in the middle of the room, didn't it?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah.
And did it have a floor drain?
I,
You know, because I mean, that has a dirt floor kind of, right?
yeah,
And that meter hangs out there. Well, if that's not heated, that could be a culprit, but I don't know if there's a floor drain in there.
Hmm.
You know, any of them, obviously, there's probably nobody's looked down there for, well,
The
yeah.
blue one on the corner you're talking about?
Yeah,
Because they had a broken meter when those people bought it, right?
The blue one on the corner across from the bank, there's
Yeah.
people living there.
Yeah.
yeah, but that water meter, what I seen is suspended down in the basement, like 3 feet above the ground, right?
right.
And, but I can't remember what's down there for a floor, but I mean, that's gotta be very cold down there, cause I don't know if there's even a furnace down there.
I think it is a dirt floor.
I think it is, yeah.
I remember right.
But then there's, you know, like even the house over here,
Boy.
530. Have you been in that?
No,
But, and everything's there, fine in there?
and I got the water off at the curb there.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Well, it'll show up.
What if
Somebody's
it
gonna
doesn't?
find it.
What if we go another week and it
I
doesn't
hope-
show up?
I hope.
What can we do? What can we do to?
Well, you can probably call rural water. They get that leak looker, that leak guy that comes in. He found it leaking down there.
Oh, Jeff did.
Yeah,
I
but that, we knew where to look.
don't think he's on there anymore.
You know,
Yeah.
it was bleeding out of the
Oh,
the
Yeah.
bank down there. We knew where to look. Well, here, you're gonna have to start looking over the whole town.
Right. I don't know. What else I mean, we can't put $1 million or $1 million.
No.
100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consistently here, you
No,
know,
you have to just get right on it and go until you find it.
we're gonna be overflowing, you know?
it's a lot of water.
How much does it make it come up? 100,000 gallons a day down there? Is that a quarter inch or?
You don't see it, that it's a,
It's not evaporating this time of year.
Yeah, there's no evaporation.
yeah,
It's trapped under the ice.
4 feet of water in the secondary pond is about 7 million gallons.
Oh,
So that's a
It's-
lot of, well, you wouldn't notice 100,000 gallons a day. You wouldn't really see it go up.
But in 10 days, it's $1 million,
Yeah,
and that's, you know,
6 inches.
20 days is 2 million.
yeah, there's their foot.
yeah.
Getting back to Amboy's reverse osmosis.
Yeah.
And with our sand filter over here is, how high is our salt? I was gonna ask you, our salt.
We don't measure it.
Oh, yeah.
We're not required. to. Yeah.
Instead of going with this, would we ever look into modernizing with reverse osmosis?
Well, yes,
So-
that's what we're waiting for,
Nobody
Yeah,
has water
PCA.
softeners?
We haven't gotten a limit yet.
to see what PCA says.
Yeah, they haven't given us a limit yet.
Yeah.
We're the last because we got ponds.
But that there in Mamboy is what, millions of dollars, right? 1.6 or?
Yeah, it's expensive.
It was a lot of money.
Oh, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, St. Peter went RO.
Yeah,
And the water people still sell softeners. People still have softeners.
Oh, really?
yeah. They had a lot of problems with that RO.
Hmm.
I'm not convinced RO is the way to go. I wasn't trying to sell you on that.
I wouldn't either.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
Not the way to go.
But just the idea, you gotta wait and make sure that health department's okay with it. Or the PCA, whatever.
Instead of pollution control.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they start
Before you
imposing
spend it.
limits, that's when we need to talk about it, and they'll give you time.
Do you have to measure the sodium down here
We do
once?
not
Or I mean, would you just to see where we're at once or not?
have to be during, no, you're better off not.
Yeah, I think if you sample, I think you have to report. But
Yeah, you're better off.
Please send it in, so you
So that, and then,
so I mean, there's a record, so you just.
yeah, so he talked about the pump over there. I was gonna mention that. Otherwise, I think we're in pretty good shape. I tested for fecal coliform in our fluoride concentration. Sent that in last month and that came back good. I don't have much else to say, you guys. I think Good Thunder's got good water.
All right. Now we can go to Chris Kennedy.
Well, quite frankly, Mayor, if you want to do the city clerk and you want to do open meeting with the people, I'm fine with that.
Okay, Ashley?
I don't have a lot. I just got a few things. So I was gonna mention that Jessica from the COG, I spoke with her. She was here. She presented to you guys. I talked with Mike Humble about mentorship. Got some names from him. So depending on which way we want to go. Personally, if I am allowed to voice mine, I would prefer to go with Jessica. Just because overall, I think she'd be more beneficial instead of calling a few people that Mike has. That's my opinion. I've included, you guys got estimates from Schwickert's. I met with Julie Leiferman from there, so you guys can review those or you can discuss them if you want or not. Ryan from Greater Mankato Growth also stopped out to discuss possibilities with the school, grant possibilities, business opportunities. He's gonna reach out to some builders and some grant writers and some people and stuff like that. So the city doesn't get charged anything for that. Fluent County pays into that, so Greater Mankato Growth offers that service for free. So he just wanted to let us know that he was there.
That's for grants.
For grants, he came to discuss ideas for the school, possible business opportunities. They cover a lot, but they do a lot of grants.
Then you said you don't pay for that because Fluid County pays for Greater Mankato Growth, so their services are free.
Yeah, so the like cities get to use
And
them.
who did you talk to do that?
Ryan. I can get you his last name. I don't
Okay.
recall. I think it starts with.
I think we should have them out with a full council.
Greater Mankato Growth? I've heard they do good things.
Well, I mean, how else are we gonna know anything?
Yeah.
I was just telling you about it, so that's where we start, but I applied for the Smith fiscal year 2020 literacy grant to bring more. I talked to Heidi over there just to bring more books to the youth. They work with Capstone and a couple other publishing companies. Lewis County Public Health dropped off 150 N99 masks. So we have those here for people who want them. They also dropped off COVID test kits. So we have those here if people want them. Fire department end of year billing went out. Phil and I worked on those and locked them down and sent them out. The Mariah from MVAC was working on rental applications and inspections. I've had 3 property owners with multiple properties that have mentioned concerns about not having fair treatment between property owners and feels like the council is not going to enforce the ordinances equally, that they shouldn't have to follow them and pay the fines and fees either.
What was that about?
I've had 3 owners with multiple properties mention concerns about not having fair treatment between property owners that have rentals and feel like the council is not going to enforce their ordinances equally. And that if they're not going to enforce it equally, they should not have to pay the fines and fees either.
Find and feed anybody?
Well, you haven't been fined, but they have to pay a $20 application fee by like every other year. And then the inspection fees through MVAC, which is $75 per unit.
So what's the complaint?
That they feel like they are not being enforced equally with all property owners. This was something that was brought up in July of last year too, but I've just had 3 property owners with multiple properties bring it up to me, so I'm just informing you.
So the complaint is that you're not asking the owners for the rental fee?
The complaint, I believe, is that we are sending out those things and requiring some people to fill them out and not requiring everybody.
Why aren't we requiring everybody?
I don't know, that was brought up in July by another resident and
I mean,
it was talked with Judd.
if we send it out, are we not getting them back?
Correct.
Some people
So
aren't
how
filling
do we
them
know that? I mean,
out. She's got it on your spreadsheet right here. It tells you who's,
now,
yeah.
today,
That's because
but this was
this was a renewal year. So that's why we're all seeing them again and
okay.
Mariah's working with people. So that's why it's in there. She's.
Because I know there's people, I know one house that's not even on the list. That's rental
Okay.
by hour, whatever.
Just standard, yeah. And I don't know, I'm relaying
Yeah,
residents' concerns to you. I don't make the rules, I don't enforce the rules, I'm just here to send out letters, so that's.
right.
Sheet is in there, of who has them, who's returned them, who's paid, who's had inspections and who's had re-inspections, that's all in there for you guys to.
Okay, so what do we do with the ones that haven't returned them? What can we do?
There's ordinances for it. There's fines.
Okay, but what do we do?
You can take actions, you can, well, you require a rental license, correct? Yeah, you can revoke the rental license and basically tell the tenants that they're being evicted from the premises.
Okay, and I mean, do we do that?
You'd have to do it through a lawsuit and sue it, so. So you have to basically be very similar to doing a nuisance property type of action. Theoretically, you could also charge it out as a criminal matter if again investigated by the sheriff's department and the county attorney agreed to the prosecutor, but I don't honestly know of any case where the county attorney has done that. And my guess is that particular ordinance wouldn't be necessarily uploaded to the state, so it would take a while. But you can take an action for abatement, you can take an action, say, basically, we can take action threatening to take legal action or telling them that they can't rent and seeking the money back from the rent on the properties.
I mean, I agree that if some are following the rules, we should enforce all of them to follow the rules regardless of what it takes. I mean, or not have the rule. One of the two.
Yeah.
I think it was I was home and I was zoomed in and Judd was here talking about how we just didn't have 100%. Then there was a property that he was concerned about.
Yeah, but at that time, he didn't really seem like he understood the ordinance. That's what I took. And so he was looking for clarification, which I thought would eventually come from Chris. And, so.
And I'll get you clarification on that. I mean, I'll put it on my list, right?
Okay.
Honestly, it's not part of your code that I read before the meeting here tonight. So I'll take a look at your code and see
Sure.
exactly what you can do.
No, I mean, I
The
understand.
next meeting.
I mean,
We can go from there.
do we need to do anything tonight to initiate this?
I don't think you can do anything tonight because I don't think you necessarily have enough information. Right now, it's being brought to you as an informational piece of information, and then we can get some more information and decide how you want to proceed.
Okay.
Because tonight, otherwise, other than telling me to figure out what you can do, I don't know that there is any action you can take because you've received notice that, properties owners have made a complaint, but no specific complaint. No property that they're looking for anybody to take action against. They just feel that they're being treated unfairly because some people have to follow the rules and some don't. But that's a fairly common complaint anytime we get into court. I can't tell you how many speeders I've prosecuted over the years that said, geez, why'd you pick on me? And 3 cars passed me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I get it too, I just, fair's fair.
Right, no, it's just,
It either is or isn't.
fair is fair.
Yeah.
Gotta do it.
And I did, like I say, I'll try to remember to email you.
Yeah. Or text or whatever works easiest for you.
Because by all right, Ashley, you'll know who hasn't paid.
Yeah.
When the deadline is,
Mhm.
whatever.
When is the deadline? April
So-
1st or March
So
1st?
I sent out the letters, and I gave them the deadline of February 8th, I believe it was, to have it back so that you guys could view it for the council, or for the meeting and kind of approve those ones that are sent to you. And then in that spreadsheet that I gave you says who has and who hasn't. From there, I don't know if you want to send a second letter and give them 30 days or what, you guys, that's up to you guys.
Just like the water meters, that's how we used to do that. Does that Judd have to expect them every other year or every year or every 2 years or every 3 years?
Every other year is what it is.
How does handle it?
Well, like I say, if we gotta go through,
I sleep at night.
They've been sent out already, supposed to have been back by February 8th. None's been returned, send them out, got another 30 days, or how you want to handle it?
They haven't returned the stuff before February 30th and they previously had a rentals license. I would send them a letter indicating that they're currently don't have a renter's license if they haven't filed the application. And that they can't be renting it, and I would send it to the property owner and the tenant.
What if they never had one to begin with?
Then we're taking action regarding failure to get the renter's license and then trying to deal with that, because we have to, that'd be more fact specific as to how we know that they're actually renting.
Can you put something in writing and get it to Ashley so we
Yeah.
got it down in writing?
I can get you a proposed letter to,
Good idea.
Perfect.
And then what do we do with the ones that did it? I mean, we approve those then? I mean, if they've been inspected and everything's cool?
I would
Yeah,
assume so.
some of them are getting inspected more towards the end of the month, that have submitted them. Some of them have already been inspected and then need to have a reinspection because there were some things like maybe the carbon monoxide detector wasn't working. So just things they need to fix and reinspect. So we can, if you want, we can table it till March, that way, because a lot of them are like the 22nd, I think, of February. So if you want to table it till then, whatever you guys would like to do. I can still send that follow-up letter with the people that haven't sent them back in, and then give them until the Friday before the next council meeting, or Thursday or Wednesday, or whatever you would like to do.
I think that's a good idea.
I do too.
Sounds like a deal. We need a motion on it.
at this point, you're just getting additional information and getting the letters. So I think you're just tabling until next meeting.
All right. Anything else, Ashley?
Oh, yeah. So March 21st through the 25th. The MCFOA Clerks Conference is in St. Cloud. So as long as everyone is good with that, I will be going for my continued education.
When is that?
March 21st through the 25th.
And how close are you to,
This should be my third year, and I think there's a few like communication-y class points, hours that I have to get, but it should be pretty close after this one.
okay,
Is there a charge for that? Just a couple hundred or?
Yeah, I think the class is $275. I want to say, I'll have to double check, but I believe that's what it is.
I motion to approve. She goes for that.
Not, you said that's in March, right?
Yep, March 21st to the 25th.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion, have Ashley attend that?
I
You
did.
did make it? Okay, someone second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I oppose, motion carried.
You want to touch on Scott Quist at all?
No, because it makes me happy and then everyone else gets that. I met with Scott Quist too, went over there and saw his building. Jim and I went. I let Robert know, but he was busy that day. Kind of went over to see what he was doing with his building. He has a long waiting list to get people in there. And he's doing some pretty awesome things over there.
Maybe you should explain it's the old school building
Oh,
at
the old
the
school.
center.
Sorry. Scott has the old school in Vernon Center, and he's repurposed it for. He's got rental space in there, like he's got a therapist that rents out an office space. He's got his tool packing stuff in there. Storage. He's running the Amazon fulfillment out of there. And he had some great ideas for Good Thunder's possible usage. And he also said that if it came down to the road that, maybe he could work with the city of Good Thunder and his connections to help fill up our space as well.
Does it have any public use space?
Like a community center or anything? I don't.
He doesn't. He's got
No.
meeting rooms that people can rent, but not any.
Yeah, he's got
public area.
like his employee lounge area and like meeting rooms you can rent.
It's
but
a
no,
lot.
like-
Nothing you could call a community
It's
center.
a lot smaller than our school. He also said if the city doesn't pick it up, he'd be interested in taking the school over. So for the same kind of facility. And then he would also consider renting the community center part of it back to us.
Wow, it'd be on the tax rolls.
So he said he'd love to talk to us about that. He's my customer, that's how I know. What's
You
that?
think he'd come to a meeting?
He'd absolutely come to a meeting.
We should invite him the next month. And where's he at? What school did he take over?
Vernon's, the
Vernon
Vernon Center one that used to be
Really?
that church, whatever.
Okay.
Well, in your packet, we had some estimates from Schwickert's on the building down here. Some of them are very, they give us life expectancies on roofs. I think it said that the old shop area needed a new roof right away, right? And-
7, whatever number is on there.
Number 7, yeah,
So it's like 3 to 5 years and all the other sections.
yeah.
Sorry, I guess I should have saved that too, that when I did meet with Julie Leiferman, she said that she would definitely come to talk with you guys, or if the council was hosting an open house or a public meeting, she would come, and she said the president of Schwickert's would probably come down as well, as he does live in our community area, and a couple of his other employees do as well, so.
There's roof number 7 would be $55,000, right? Way I read it here. Retrofit budget, it says $55,000, less than a year remaining roof expectancy.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot to ask you.
I don't know why we want to spend a whole lot of time talking on this because we don't own it, right? I mean.
Right, yeah, I know, but
This is just information as far as I'm concerned. It kind of depends on what uses we want to make and,
yep,
Schwickert's did include estimates too for the HVAC system and for the 6 split standalones in the old section too. Those are all included in there too.
but I guess this is kind of valuable to see what it would cost in the future over the next 5 years, I know it isn't ours yet, but we got to look
Right.
ahead.
right, but I mean, it is what it is.
But,
Compared to those estimates we got from that one company, that's a lot more reasonable too.
well, yeah,
That's scary.
that was in the millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And this, I loaded pigs last week at one of the school board members, and he asked me what we're doing. And I said that we got some bids from Schwickert's, because they kind of, they want to know. Because by another 3 months, somebody's gonna have to make a decision. So I know people express, can the city afford it? So, I mean, it's all things we have to work out.
Yep.
I mean, there's conservative people up here in this council that are very conservative that don't know if we can justify it. Isn't it the future for the younger people in Good Thunder too? Do we have to look out for those individuals and provide that, How do you look at all that?
We gotta weigh all the options, what the community wants, what we can afford. That Ryan with Greater Mankato Growth, he had some great ideas. We talked about those front 6 classrooms. He said commercial condos are going crazy in Mankato. And that's where someone, puts an overhead door on there and stores some junk in there. He said they could fill those right away. So.
What if we maybe had a
And
separate
that
meeting?
pays your-
Sorry.
That's fine. And that just pays some of your over operating costs,
I was just thinking, what if we had a meeting with Ryan from Greater Mankato Growth, Scott, this
Quiz.
guy, just to get some information? And then,
As a whole council or?
oh, no, as a whole council,
Yeah.
but like not at a regular council meeting since there's so much other stuff to take care of. And then maybe at the regular council meeting, touch on it and maybe set up a meeting date where we go to we have an informational meeting at the school.
Them buildings that would rent out that he talked about, did he give you a number what they would rent for?
based on square footage, they'd probably go about $750 a month per classroom.
Okay, and so.
I didn't know the square footage when we were talking about it, because they based it on square foot and then they take it for yearly and divide it by 12.
Is, it would be cheaper out here than in Mankato, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The same thing in Mankato, would that be $1,000, $1,200 a month?
2 or 3,000,
Jeez.
2 or 3,000.
Wow.
And there's
That's
actually,
crazy.
a lot of guys from Unique, the car, they're looking for them.
Who?
Unique Auto,
Unique.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
people that want to set a couch and a chair and their Corvette in there and just stare at it. What they're doing.
I don't got a Corvette, but I do that same. He's got a
I built
Corvette.
garage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's all things, isn't it up to us five to figure it out?
Like I said, let's get more information, have other people here and have a special meeting on it.
Should we do that, Tom? Get some input from them
Oh,
people?
sure, sure. I mean, what I'm thinking about sitting here though is that there's nobody at that meeting to say that we can actually cut holes on the side of the school and it'll stand there. Or, you know, what that'll
Right.
cost and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
We,
We do got a heater cost on there, right? The standalone air conditioning thing. That wasn't too bad
About
for,
10 grand per room or whatever.
Yeah, it was
that wasn't too bad, I didn't think.
$41,000 for the 6, and then it's like 10,000 in like electric.
I'll say it again. I'm not in favor of it. And we all know, you all know that. I'm not really in favor of the whole thing. I got an open mind though, and I can be convinced. But I do not want to end up like the county did with the dam.
Right.
With the dam.
Yep.
Still.
It was a great thing. They did great things down there, but they got the dam yet. And so I don't want to end up like that.
Well, we have a big responsibility. I mean, we're fiduciaries for the whole city, you know, and we want to do what the city wants, but we got to make sure we can afford it. I mean, like I'm kind of leaning towards wanting it, but just because of the kids and whatever, but in the community, but it's scary.
Well, Robert and I talked one time about, do you set a time limit? Okay, we have 3 years to make it work, and if not, we're selling it. And, you know, they're with somebody else already interested in it, is that an option? So it's a lot of discussion.
It's a good point, because Chris is here. Chris, say we pick that up for the transferring the title, I think it is, and say that costs the city $3,500. Just throwing that out there. And we try to do something with it, and in 5 years, it does not work, or 3 years, whatever it may be. Can the city sell that for what it's worth to a private person?
At that point, based on that scenario, the answer is yes. The true answer is that if the city gets involved in that and you're renovating it, you're likely to be taking grant money. And the grant money will probably make it so that you're gonna have that property for 20 to 30 years.
Okay,
Because that's what, you know, just for an example, the Lake Crystal Recreational Center ended up being the city's property because of grants.
okay.
But with the renovations, that's likely to need what you're looking at doing. You know, if you're doing your fiduciary duties, you're gonna be looking for grants, and the grant money is gonna put restrictions on you.
I mean, can you remember the number of what it costs for utilities? I know Maureen Spears, she had a different
I thought
number.
it was $50,000, $50,000 or $60,000. I thought it was interesting. Scott's heating that school over there for $700 a month. The one in Vernon Center.
Is it the whole thing, or is it separated out per room?
7 furnaces in that building.
But I mean, it's all under 1 meter
Yep.
that the tenants aren't paying for
No, he's paying all of it.
$700?
That's what he said.
There ain't no way.
Telling you what he said. I don't know why he's lying,
I know
but
about talk to Pemberton.
Huh?
You guys should talk to Pemberton and see how they're doing with their community center over there. It's breaking their back.
Is it?
Mhm,
Really?
mhm.
Well, see, that's very, very good to know.
We've talked about going to check it out
Yeah.
a lot.
What
You
part?
should talk to the clerk. Well, they have a new clerk now, but maybe the mayor or, you know, somebody over there. And that city's really divided now too.
Yeah.
What's the
old mayor.
burden of it?
The cost of the heat and utilities and the upkeep, and they can't get anybody they have a daycare in there that's faltering. And they have the post office in there, and the other rooms have never been able to get rented out. They had a guy renting the commercial kitchen to make his salsa that he was selling. And they had problems with the floor drain in the kitchen, and then the Department of Health got onto that and said the city had to fix it and they didn't get it done in time. The guy got tired of dinging around and built his own commercial kitchen. So now they can't even rent that out. For weddings, they're really struggling because no one wants to come out there, have drinks in the bar and then risk driving back to Mankato where their hotels are. So they looked into getting a bus, but how many trips back and forth between Pemberton and Mankato to make that worthwhile? Anyway, I'm just saying they've really struggled over there and it's a burden on the city.
Would our proximity, hope you know what I mean, saying
Proximity.
Yeah.
proximity with Mankato put us at a better benefit than Pemberton? Does anybody think?
Probably because Mankato's growing south.
I mean, like we've always said, we're the middle of Blue Earth County, but you know, we're kind of in the middle of all those cities, but
I think if we set that second meeting to meet with Ryan, he's doing a traffic mapping too. So you guys can kind of review that and how things are shifting and going. I think that'll be just another piece to kind of help further that discussion.
I mean, if we all decide it doesn't work out, at least we've went down every avenue and tried everything to see what we could have done or could do.
And
I
when,
mean,
Scott was talking to me, I mean, he's interested right away. He knows it's gonna need roofs in these long times, but he's like, I could rent the city, the community center kitchen and city halls if they wanted, and he could put a long-term contract in there for that, you know? And then you'd have a tax base too. So there's tons of opportunity. He talked to me. He said I could afford people to work tomorrow putting drill bits in packages. He's got a company in the city, wants to ship the semi-load down and they put them all in the packages.
Yeah, but for his benefit.
For his benefit, yeah, but I mean, he's got space to rent out for that and
Yeah.
he's got people looking for.
keep a building in town, keep people in there.
Well, and he said that,
Jobs?
he said that he has these connections and he would be more than happy to pass those connections on because he's out of space and he's got a wait list. So it's just maybe a discussion that the council should have us see.
Well, I say, let's have a special meeting down the road. We gotta get some more information, like we say, we like.
Do we want to aim
No,
for
no,
2 weeks, February 28th?
get some more information.
Pardon?
Do we want to aim for like 2 weeks, February 28th, see if it works for them and maybe do
A little
a
soon. I mean, you're gonna get any more information? Like you're saying, like, you know, if you're gonna say put garage doors in them buildings, how much foundation you got underneath those floors?
Yeah, I don't know.
The whole thing, we gotta figure out all that, you know, is that 3 inches or 4 or 5, you know? And then if it's 3 inches, you might as well throw your hands up in the air. I mean, it just,
And there could be other ways that an engineer would be able to, or an architect would be able to fix that.
yeah, it could be, yeah.
You know, anything's possible, it just takes money.
It's just gonna take money, but again, that money, if you had to do X amount of improvements, here's this investments here. Do we take part of that out to fund that? It's the city, it's the people of the city of Good Thunder's money sitting here. There's $790,000. So, you know, would you take 250 of it?
Well, you can sell this building too for 150,000 if you're moving City Hall down there.
Do you think this building would sell for 150 in Good Thunder?
Well, what do you think they want for the one shop down there?
I was
This is nicer than that building.
gonna bring that up. I did talk to Thomas and Garrett last week, and their rent has been raised. And I had just said in passing, oh, what did he want for it? 150,000? Because when we inquired about it, that's what he wanted. He said, oh, no, way more than that. So the shop on the edge of town, he wants more than that. So, and the house next door to this just sold for 170. So I don't, I'm not a realtor, but dang. Anyways,
You got that one area down there that was the old shop, which needs a ceiling right away. Is that doesn't have the, yeah, 31 by 68 is that a $1,500 a month area to rent out right there?
There's graffiti, probably 1,000 or 1,200.
Yeah.
And I know that Jason's looking for a place to have a body shop.
Yeah.
He'd actually like this building.
Yeah.
They'd like to build a new building, but I don't.
Well, the guy, whoever came and met with us at the school, and we talked to them for a while, he talked about how he saw this building having a lot of possibilities to do different things.
Yep.
So I don't know the right answer.
There's gonna be pros to cons to it all.
Yep,
It could be awful scary, the initial
it is.
taking it over. And when you listen to Brian, 14 miles away, they're having problems. But yet, I wonder why, well, maybe they don't know about how Vernon is flourishing with an overflow of people that want to rent space.
Well, it
Wow,
might be his connections, you know, and like he said, he'll give us all his connections because he wants to help his connections get places.
Do we have to do anything with our ordinances in order to rent out space?
We'd have to modify the ordinances. We'd have to figure out what you're looking at the space, and that's probably a big difference between Vernon Center and what's happening in Pemberton and other places, is that you're looking at a private individual who's able to rent it out to Amazon for distribution center, renting, commercial rental storage spaces that you may not have the ability to do, nor would it make sense for you to do. So the commercial aspects have become far more complicated for you than they do for him. So I mean, there's a possibility that Mr. Quist could come in and do this and rent it out, and you get exactly what you want, and you just got to figure what that is. Possibly the city comes in there and, is able to rent it out and do everything you want to do. But what I'd suggest is, you can get information, meet with people, then decide exactly what you view the building as being and how it helps the community. And then at that point, you have to figure out how much money it's going to take to upkeep it or not. But very seldom do cities enter into other things other than industrial parks where they actually make money.
that rec center in Lake Crystal was a burden on that town for quite a while. Is that up there to carry itself now?
No,
No?
no. I mean, it provides a lot of resources and everything of that nature, and so we'll kind of put it there, but it's the same thing as the Civic Center in Mankato. That doesn't carry its own weight. The amphitheater doesn't carry its own weight. It's just very difficult for cities to do that, with the requirements and stuff that you have that a private business wouldn't necessarily have. He can rent to anybody he wants to. I don't know that the city necessarily can do that. We have to put things in place, and people are gonna have certain expectations as to what they're gonna come in there and looking to do, and then it's the open space that you have and what you're looking to have. So if the city's doing it, I don't know that you can go into it looking at it as being a break even or a money-making thing. It would be a benefit to the city, but it's gonna be a cost.
That he rents out space, but does he take care of a whole liability insurance himself, or do they have to buy some sub-insurance for the area they rent?
That's what we'd have to find out.
Ask him.
Rental insurance.
I'm sure it's both. I'm sure it's like any other leasing situation where you're gonna have the property owner is gonna have rental insurance and be part of it, and then the tenants are gonna have to be part of that as well. Where I rent, with the landlord's responsible for portion, we're responsible for portion, and you both have, the contracts that kind of go with both of them. And if the whole place burned down, the insurance companies would fight amongst themselves as to who has to pay what. But that, the city where you'll have a bit more of a problem is, I don't know how the league is going to look at the insurance. Particularly if you have commercial activities in there, you have a kitchen in there, that may dramatically affect what they're looking at your insurance rates. But that's a discussion for later once, in my mind, at least, the very first thing for the council to determine is, what do you see, where do you want to go, and then work out whether or not it's feasible.
Yeah, that could bring a very good question there about how the league would treat that, a city-owned building with certain entities in there. Does it cause a threat to that building? What they're doing there? Like, say somebody rented the old shop part for a body shop. Fumes.
I mean, would that even fit in our zoning?
Yeah, there you go.
Would it even fit here?
Yeah, the zoning is stuff that we can get around. I mean, where I think you might find a more difficult part is like that Amazon center, where what you're gonna find for grants and things for the city, it's gonna be a lot easier to get money for incubators, where you're having businesses come in for short periods of time and then encouraging them to get other spots in the city, but that puts a lot more risk on the city because you don't have any permanent tenants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ryan said that too. They've got lots of people looking at incubator space where they start their business, try to grow it and move on to something bigger.
Mhm.
That's in like the Civic Center, that's a great example. That is a wonderful building. And there's a lot of people to spread that cost over. We have 200 households or about to spread that cost over. And that's what you gotta always remember here, you know?
Yeah, and some of it's gonna be how you take a look at it, because you take a look at the civic center, where the city doesn't make money on it. I think that there's, you can make an argument the community does.
Yeah.
You know, that there's a lot of ancillary businesses that they make money when they have the concerts and the conventions and.
Right.
But, you know, it's different from Mankato or, you know, North Mankato, Lake Crystal, or Waseca. Each of the cities is gonna have their own way of looking at it versus Good Thunder. You know, what the benefits are. And as much as the rec center may cost money to Lake Crystal, I don't know that, you know, you have a majority of the council that would say it was a mistake. I think they're fine and happy doing it. I think it's provide something to the community. It's just a matter of what you're looking to provide and where the community looks at having it said.
Thinking forward for the younger families in town, you know, we have no community center. If we don't take it over or whatever, will we be out that, or could we build another community center somewhere cheaper than taking that over? Is that a thought too?
It's a thought.
You know,
The venue or event idea has been tried here in town, you know. That's tried. That's where Grant is now. There wasn't somebody in there that tried this, you know, and it just wasn't, and I realize that's not a very big space. But it just didn't work.
Well, we were gonna build on when the fire station, we were gonna put a big enough building there for city hall and full 9 yards and a place that would hold 200 people, and the city turned it down.
Yep.
That's 20 years ago.
Every event I've had, there's been a lot of people at it and
Yeah.
filled up the gym, but it would be how you have to market it. You have to find a good, I'm sure New Ulm has a good tourist marketing that brings people to New Ulm and to these towns. And I think Greater Mankato Growth kind of does that too, but you gotta have a lot of information and a way to market it to the people.
Let's get that information at the meeting, because Ryan will tell us more about their marketing efforts, their marketing and some of that stuff too.
well, if we took it over, all the ordinances would have to be changed to adopt to whatever kind of businesses is in there, right?
We would have to see which ordinances we would have to change, but I think a lot more of that has to do with what you look at doing on
Yeah.
the property.
You know, that thing where somebody has a Corvette and they want to park it in there and just have a couch and look at it, that would be a very low exposure deal, you know? It's not like putting a body shop in the old shop and having that. So I mean, some of that low exposure stuff wouldn't be so bad.
But again, the question on that ends up being, what is the civic purpose or the purpose for the city in providing that service? Because again, you're not necessarily just looking to make money or to operate the building without cost. You have to, you know, that's why when I say that, you know, the Amazon doesn't necessarily work as well as the incubators, you know, because they're specifically are putting in a business that's generating probably very little additional revenue to the city other than the rent. No employees, you know, nobody's moving into the area to live. It's just storage.
So I just thought of something, Jim, you said something about selling this building. So just say you took it over for 3 to 5 years and it was a failure. You'd have nowhere for your council rooms
Yeah.
if you sold this building. Or would you just lease it?
I guess you could rent it out as something else, and see how your plan goes.
Yeah, because otherwise you sell it 5 years from now, things go bust.
Nowhere to go.
There's no city hall.
So
So
other people asked about renting this out, but
you gotta look at it that way too, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you have to consider all those options.
There's a lot to consider.
If you take it over, I don't think it's realistic to expect that you're gonna get out of that if it fails in 3 to 5 years.
What was that, Chris?
I said, if you take over the school and make it a community project and it fails, I don't think it's likely you're getting out of that whole thing with 3 to 5 years.
It'll take longer.
10 or 20.
It'll take longer. There's gonna be lots of things that are gonna tie things up and, you know, yeah. You know, I could, you know, I could be wrong, but I haven't seen cities be able to react quickly to situations like that.
Yeah.
The town has kind of got to sell itself though, also, you know. There isn't much in Good Thunder, but if you take that away without an opportunity of a community center or whatever, there's not very many selling points about Good Thunder.
I'm not trying to be for or against the project.
Well, I mean, I'm just bringing that up.
Think about, yeah, no, I understand. And that's what the council's got to determine, but that's why I think it's very important that the council figures out first what you plan on seeing for this building and then working backwards as to how you can achieve that. Because it's, in my mind, it's different if you're looking to have a community center and have it to be city hall and then figure out what to do with other space. If you're looking at to have it as incubators, or if you're looking at it as just, for business space to rent out. We could do all, any of those probably. It's just a matter of figuring out what makes sense and, and that's also going to tell you how much it's going to cost to renovate the building.
Well, Ashley threw out there the 28th, be 2 weeks from tonight. Does that sound like that'd work for everybody to get that Scott, that greater growth Mankato guy, get him together, get him in here so we can make some, well, we may be making any decisions. We'd be listening to opportunities, maybe be the way to put it. Does that work for everybody? Monday, 28th?
That's my wife, it's her birthday.
You'll be home by 10.
Would we want to do special? like,
You're already missing Valentine's Day.
I didn't.
My
I
son's
gave her
birthday.
shit this morning.
Should we go for that then? 28th?
Do we want to try like a 5 o'clock instead of a 7 or
It's up to these guys.
throw it out there?
Tom, you're one that, what works best for you?
Should be able to make that.
5 o'clock or?
I should be able to make that. Will that offer it up to the community at 5 o'clock too?
Should we involve some community?
I think it's
It has to be an open meeting.
It's a public meeting. I just,
Open meeting, so
I don't want to have it so early that the public don't have the opportunity to be here.
Well, that could be pretty early at that point,
6 might be better.
or 6:30.
I would say 6. Happy medium between 7 and
I
5.
suppose that's contingent on Ryan and Scott can make it too.
Yeah,
At least it gives people an opportunity if they wish to see something or hear something or say something,
Yeah.
they'd be here.
Let's shoot for the 28th and see what happens. Otherwise, we can always knock it down the road up a week. Huh?
well, is that something you want to have here?
Yeah,
Yeah, just
We'd have to have it here.
information
Okay,
here.
just information here. And then later on, if we discuss it further, maybe we'll be like, we're done, but if we want to discuss it further, we'll do it at the school then.
Yeah, I mean, if we actually call for people to,
Community
the
response.
whole town to come in like we did when the fire station was built.
Yeah.
We called for the whole town. We must have had 100 people there,
Was it here yet?
all right.
Let's shoot for that.
Anything else on Ashley?
I don't think so.
I think a month or two ago, didn't we maybe see if Ashley could find a better source for our money?
she mentioned.
I had reached out to Larry again because we wanted to try to get him in here. And I still haven't heard anything back. So I'm not sure what has happened with Old National and our investments in Larry and why. So I guess I'm not sure what the next step you guys want me to take.
Well, can we reach out to a few local banks and see what they would do? Can we do that, Chris?
You probably want to reach out to your auditors and make sure that they're not gonna have a problem with it. Like Crystal just got done with an investment where for 20 years they got nicked every audit for not being, with being the local bank.
Because it was at the local bank?
Yep.
Okay.
So there are certain regulations and stuff regarding the investments where they can be, you can certainly look at some of the sources and I can certainly look at it. I couldn't tell you offhand, the bank would be able to give you what they need to.
So,
But part of the issue with the banks is that they have to provide you with information that shows that they have assets. That basically guarantee the funds that you have on. If you don't get the FDIC insurance on it.
It's still, and I know we've asked them, but it always says about these uninsured deposits. Uninsured, that just doesn't sound good. It says uninsured of $272,598.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I think for the audit purposes, if you're putting it with a bank, they have to give you a balance sheet showing that there's sufficient assets to cover, what you got on deposit with them. I would start with Burkhardt. I would suggest I would take a look at it, but actually I got enough of a list right now. And I know that Burkhardt was just dealing with the issue with Lake Crystal, so they can probably give you a quick answer.
All right, how about this funding request for Minnesota Valley Scenic Byway Alliance? Is this something that just got sent out here? Or-
Yes, I don't know anything about the scenic byway, but they've sent it to us. I think it was a couple of years ago, because I think there's a sticker on one of the windows. I don't know if it was a before me thing.
Yeah,
Was it bike riding and trails and stuff? Is it that?
I think so. Did they do anything with it?
I don't think so. They had talked about how they'd like to try and connect us with the Red Jacket Trail and that kind of a thing. Remember that?
Mhm.
Down to the river and that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and it came, I just,
Passed it on.
yeah.
We went this far without it. Do we need it or?
I can't see where it'd even be feasible to have
Let's-
if they'd have done it when the railroad was
Maybe
shutting
we
down.
should.
Well, that's what they did with the,
Yeah, the trestle down there. Yeah.
Yeah,
they sold back to the
That must have
farmers.
really,
I think they just want us to give them some money to continue that project is kind of how I get, what I gather
Oh,
from it,
yeah.
but I don't know that there's even anything that comes out this way, I guess.
We just need to table it.
All right, was the auditors here today?
They were not here today. They're coming March 14th, not today.
Oh,
And I would rather not discuss that.
wrong day apparently.
Pardon?
Wrong day. Thought it was today. It's,
Right day, wrong month.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Anything else then?
No.
Okay.
Everything else is further down, I think.
We can open it up to community comment.
Well, I guess one of the reasons I've been coming to the meeting is I'm really interested in what's gonna happen with the school. And I'm really concerned with what could potentially cost our taxpayers in town. And I don't know, I know there's been lots of discussion about, potentials and all this kind of stuff, and I think that, just to express my own opinion is the fact that if there's a possibility of getting somebody in here that could take it over privately and develop some tax base for it, I think that we're end up, we talk of this building and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of wants are turning into needs. And I don't think that this town is big enough for that. I don't think this town is big enough to support that kind of an effort when you think about taxes. Our taxes are sky high to begin with, and then we jump into something that could potentially cost us even more money. If there's somebody that thinks that they're gonna rent those classrooms out there for $750 a month, they should buy that building and rent it out tomorrow, because they're fooling themselves. If I had $750,000 to park, or $750 a month to park my Corvette in, I'd be building my own building on my own property or somewheres other than that building. You think about the commercial aspect of it. Robert, can you drive one of your semis down there?
No.
No, you can't. Can you turn it around? Can you logistically get in and out of there? Are these people gonna be bringing stuff in and out with pickup trucks, or what are they gonna be doing? I mean, there's a lot of things to this that just don't make sense to me. And that's why I've been coming to the meetings, one of the primary reasons. And I think that the thing that I can see, or that I don't want to see happen, is that all of a sudden we get to the point where the school district needs a decision on this, whatever, and we're not prepared to make a decision. And then all of a sudden the decision has to be made, and then the decision is made without all the information that has to be compiled as far as potential costs and all this kind of stuff. And then we end up with a Pemberton situation or stuff like that. And I'm just concerned with that. So I guess that's all I really want to say. And that's why I've been interested in these meetings, because I want to make sure that I kind of have a good understanding of what potentially could happen.
Well, that's why we've been touching on this,
Right.
like November, December.
But it seems like it just kind of keeps barely getting pushed forward. And I think that that's gonna have to be a decision that's gonna have to be made. And I think that there's gonna be I think that having a meeting in 2 weeks and getting some of these people that could potentially, I think that's a good step in the right direction. But when you start comparing our school to Vernon Center School, 169 versus 66 or County Road 1, big difference there. They're two blocks off 169. It's easy to get in and out of that school, on the streets and stuff.
They got a better access, I will say
I
that.
mean, there's a lot, you gotta realistically think about some of this stuff. And you think about, converting those classrooms, you think about mini splits. Mini splits don't work below 0. So if you're gonna heat those spaces, that's a consideration. Are people gonna wanna store their stuff in there if it gets 30 below 0 or 20 below 0 and the heat don't work? Those mini splits are a good auxiliary sort of a solution, but they're not a very good consistent heat source. So, but that's all I gotta say, I guess. I mean, I think that I'm glad that you guys are having all this discussion because I think it has to happen.
Well, I'm glad people like you show up and, when we get a little farther, I hope the whole community gets involved. So we get enough input. So 5 of us don't have to make the decision.
And I think, sending out some sort of a survey is a real, important component to that. In addition to inviting people to a meeting, because I think a lot of times people will give maybe a truer assessment of what they would say rather than they say it to a group or whatever. Some people try to keep their opinions to themselves as far as being in the public spotlight, but they might go to work and react differently to that. I think the other thing that's a component to that is if we send out a survey or whatever, it should be sent to people that are paying taxes, not people that are living in town renting and things like that. I really do, because the people that are paying taxes are the ones going to have to take the burden on for what this is going to potentially cost.
What year did we do a survey?
We did a survey 1.5 years ago.
Yeah, it said the survey was, if we could get the school for $1, would that be a good idea? It didn't say it could potentially cost $60,000 a year to maintain it. It might need a $2.5 million roof. The foundation is crumbling and the wall in the southwest corner is settling. There's a lot of things to this, and you don't want to go to work and as a city, and you guys, once you said we're fiduciaries of the city, we don't want to end up with a cat in a bag. And I don't think that serves anybody's purpose as far as that goes. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to take under consideration, taking that over, like you say, yep, you brought up a good point, got it for $1. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it for $1, but there's 2.5 million that's gonna follow it.
Exactly.
So I guess, we'll get a little input 2 weeks from tonight. I think we'd have to have a meeting with the public though, wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah, down the road.
Just to get some,
Yeah,
you bet.
yeah,
Definitely.
Hopefully the whole town shows up.
that's right, absolutely,
And that's why we talked about doing it at the school,
yeah.
so we'd have room and they can check it out. And
Okay, well, we got it that, we'll have a meeting 2 weeks from tonight.
that's if it works for those individuals.
Yep, all right.
Do we need a motion to do that?
So I guess we should better have one, make a motion for 2 weeks from tonight.
I'll do that.
6:30, was it?
6.
Six. Someone second,
I'll second that.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Robert, if I may. I had 2 topics I wanted to talk about, but basically don't need to say anything because you covered it all, what I'd like to say. Since when does city government get in the way of private business to come in and, have a potential to make a profit? If the taxpayers buy it, that's going to happen on a select basis for select people. And we've squashed that business opportunity for somebody. If Quist wants to get it, let him have it. And then it'll go or it won't go. And that's what we all do every day when we take on a great idea, is that, we hope that it succeeds, but sometimes it fails. And the chance of this thing failing seems a lot more than it is of succeeding for the city. like Tom said, I'm an optimist. I like to see that stuff happen and give something for the kids and whatnot, but just a lot of things going on over there. You know, you talk about the southwest corner. It's been sinking since they poured it. And what's it gonna take to, back a big vehicle in there and have a problem? Just a lot of stuff to consider. So I'm not gonna beat that down anymore. I think you said it very well. And the only other thing I want to talk about is I'm sure you guys are aware that the county shop is looking to expand, and they're talking about a few places out of Mankato with easy access to 169, et cetera. That's a project that is going to happen, and that is going to bring resources to that area that is being developed. I'm wondering if the council is aware of that, and two, if we've done anything to kind of try to attract that here, being the center of the county.
They've already got that set for County Road 90 and 8. They've got that, that sounds like it's a go already.
Well, it's not a go yet, and until they start building it, I'd say we try to do what we can to make it happen. Nothing's done, Jim, until, that shovel goes in the ground and the contracts are signed, right? Contracts are signed and the shovel goes in the ground. Until then, if we're not trying to do something, then we just let somebody else have it. And, there's room out here, and I don't know if you know better than I do, and probably better than anybody, that how much space we have to do that kind of stuff, and how much they need. But why couldn't they expand out here? They've got access to.
It's centrally located
Yeah.
at all points of the county.
Yep.
You know,
Talking about their main desire is access in and out of there. Well, what else could you ask for here?
If we're putting on the corner out there, that's again, we're gonna have to run water and sewer to them again. They're talking about a $10 or $12 million building though, so it's a big building.
Bet you Blue Earth County would be interested in having water and sewer out there.
Yeah.
Might be able to work something out.
well, I mean, in reality, right on top of the hill out here would be an ideal place for them. There's that acreage there. Would it be for sale? Well, they got to buy farmland where they got it right now. So that's farmland right out here. I mean, do we draft a letter stating that, we are the center of the county? Have you ever looked outside of the Mankato area to place your building?
I could talk to Tim Edwards. He's in charge of all the county buildings. I do all their work. So I could ask him, see where they're at in that contract process.
Tim Edwards?
Leverage our political muscle with the Will Purvises and that, the commissioners that are out there.
Mr. Mayor, it may make some sense for you to reach out to the commissioner for this area
Yeah.
and just voice interest and stuff. And that's obviously what he's there for on the political process, but.
Well, it's sure worth a try. I mean, you just don't want to lay down by the dog dish and do nothing. So it's sure absolutely worth a shot. Do we draft a letter on behalf of the city of Good Thunder to the council?
I think you could just call the commissioner though too, couldn't you?
Call them?
I think you have more influence if you could contact and call the commissioner.
Yeah.
I don't know that a letter from the city council to the commissioner, the county commissioners without some support from the commissioner is going to have much effect. And quite frankly, if you do that, I don't know what would prevent, like Crystal or Eagle Lake or, any number of Skyline from doing the same.
How about, have they purchased the land out there?
I thought it was a done deal, but apparently it's not. The way the radio made it sound is like that's where they were going.
I did some checking after I saw the article in the paper and they have not finalized their decision about where it's gonna go. There's still 2 sites left that they're considering. Now, has that changed since I looked at it 2 weeks ago? Maybe, but what I'm saying is when those opportunities come about, I mean, doesn't it make sense to, in Army language, expend all rounds and try to get that done? If we can, I mean, it isn't gonna hurt anything. I personally don't know why every sheriff and every county guy doesn't live here, because they can get everywhere from here.
Mhm. And with all the improvements in County Road 1, they have pretty good access to Mankato.
Athowitt's still working on it too, so if they needed a different grade, it's gonna happen. I mean, that bridge is gonna cost $2 million, come on.
Well, I'll make an attempt to call them and see where they're at in their process.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I'd rather see working on things that are gonna happen rather than what might. And Tom said it well, you know, I'd love to see that. It's a great idea, but how much pain is it gonna cost us?
Yeah. And again, sold to a private individual would be paying taxes on it instead of us providing service. But what you would be doing.
Well, and if he's willing to, you know, keep the gym and rent that out as a community area,
That would really be a plus.
that would be like win-win for everyone.
But then Jay brought up a good point. Our roads would, you know, and there isn't semi-access. Well, there has been over the years, but
Semi goes there twice a week, a semi goes down there.
yeah, I know, but I mean,
Dock,
it
but
isn't handy at all.
It's not handy and the roads aren't built for it. I mean,
You know.
they're not, the trucks aren't supposed to come out of the elevator down there and go to the west.
no, they're
There's a
Or
sign
east.
right there that says no trucks.
Yeah.
How many
Or
trucks
east.
turn left and go up
nowhere else for
that
them to go.
all the time?
Keep sending them down South Halliday and see. Better and better every year.
Yep.
Checking it down.
One thing to remember, and I agree, Sue, that we gotta be, we should contact them. But that's a tax-free entity again.
Yeah. Good point.
But just, you know, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
if that was here, it's gonna bring a tax base here.
Yeah, it would help.
It would be increased traffic flow.
Yeah, it would help.
And I mean, as far as them being hooked up to the courthouse, that's all done over the internet anymore anyway. It ain't as if they gotta go drive down there 10 times a day. Oh, I gotta go to the courthouse. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. It's all done over the internet anyway.
I always try to stay out of the head shed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know. I don't work there.
Well, I would sure as heck in this day and age it would be, right?
I think some things, yes, but not everything, but.
But-
No, I think it's a good idea.
I mean, if as long as we're talking about all this, you know, I mean, that's always where I kind of go back to. I gotta be convinced about the whole school
Mhm.
because the potential is quite high there. Well, we could put $250,000 out here and build some houses too,
Yep,
you know,
absolutely.
and actually have a tax base there too. I'm assuming that we can get the okay from the MPC and all these things that have to happen, but all these things have to happen when if we could buy the school too. You know, that's the people's money too. So I mean, is that something that they'd rather see done? And then build the community center upon the people moving into town, or we want to start with the apple and hope to attract, you know, I mean, those are the things that bother me and I think about a lot. So I don't have the answer. I'm just saying.
No, it's all points of view that are very well taken.
We've got that money. We could, you know, make it possible for a developer to come in and do that, but at what cost, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say this, but you're the example, Robert, of somebody who believes in town and is willing to lose money for and you know, probably an unknown amount of time. You probably, in all honesty, can't say that, but I mean, you know, you've got the faith in town to do that. Can we take money that belongs to the community with that same kind of faith in town, you know, and is it the same? And it's not really the same. He's a private person, you know?
He made that decision. You know, he made that decision to do that and
Yeah.
we'd be making that decision for other people. So
One thing I can say, Tom, is by having that card troll going, which I wish it would have been going a year ago, the community support, and I believe it's Vernon Center people, it's Amboy people, it's everybody that travels through here.
Yep.
To me, when we have nothing else to offer. I just did it a week ago. It runs about, on all three products, it ran like 430 gallons a day. Well, up until lately, there was very good markup on the regular gas. And with the loan I got there, boy, I'm not falling too short.
No.
With the apartments on the top, when they get done, you know, and they said they'd rent for $1,000. I don't think so. They're gonna be $750 to $800 apartments probably. Got an idea, Jim?
3-bedroom, 2-bath?
Pardon?
Are they 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or
Pardon?
how many bedroom, how many bath? 2-bedroom?
Two bedrooms and 1 3-bedroom.
I think George, I don't know, but I think he's even getting 800 in the building for his 3-bedroom. So a brand new one, you should be able to get $1,000 for 3 bedrooms for sure.
Well, you know, with that and then with the inside sales and everything down there, you know, yeah, it's gonna take a long time.
Yeah.
And I believe in Good Thunder. That's why I did it, because we were stale. This town was stale.
Yeah.
We have a very good restaurant. We have a very good locker. About sums it up.
The locker is doing.
And a good day
improvement,
here.
so I think it's because of you building. 'Cause I
Well,
do know that-
they got a newer generation in down there, I believe, that's
Yeah, they have. a-
stepping forward, you know? So, you know, yeah, we have to believe in Good Thunder. All of us that live here have to believe in Good Thunder. That's what my thoughts are.
He doesn't believe in Good Thunder as much as he believes in every person in this room. He talks so highly of the people that are coming to get gas. He talks so highly that, will they come eat ice cream? Will they come buy a burger from me?
Okay, you get a special.
Hot dog.
Just go
But
well.
anyway, that's, you know, but the way Tom said that, you know, the sport is, to me, at this point, with my fuel guy, just brought a load yesterday. He says, wow, he says, you know, he says, he's been in the fuel business for 45, 50 years. He says, I never imagined you'd hit that with just gas.
Yeah.
And a porta potty that nobody goes in. So, you know, he says, his thoughts are when that store opens up, we'll probably pick up another 200 gallons a day. I'd be happy at 500, 600, you know, and that would generate a revenue to make the payments, you know, and the rest is a service that'll make money too, but we got to believe in Good Thunder,
Yeah, I know.
you know.
And I agree.
But again, everything that Jay said, what Tom said, what this Tom said is true. It's very true. We could sell that and get a tax base. But in my mind, I'm looking for a community center for the young families and the kids. But then if we could sell that to Scott Quist and we could get a lifetime lease on the gym, community center, kitchen, whatever. Boy, that wouldn't be bad either.
What
Pardon?
happens to
Best
the
of
money?
both worlds.
Yeah, yeah.
What happens to the money that was included in the referendum
They keep it.
To tear it down.
to tear it down?
They said they keep that. That's bonus money to them.
Yep.
Because
Thanks.
they're gonna get us to take
There
that
he
school.
is.
up.
They
Look
did,
for it
they
now,
did
but-
tell us that that would have to go back to the principal on the note, is what they told us in this room.
Or
That
do
means
it
it
on
goes
the field.
back in our pocket.
But
I mean, nothing's
Did I say
free.
that?
I don't know, that's just what they.
Sports complex was never supposed to be moved either.
Right.
And I already heard now
I think bonds are very
that
specific.
they're thinking about expansion
Right.
already.
With declining enrollment, that ought to work really good.
So anyway,
Anyway, yeah, we're getting off the.
we're getting off there. We've set up a meeting. Tom's gave a view, Jay's gave a view. Anybody else under community comment?
Last time I touched on Willard Street and Jim said no to it. Here are the papers that we filled out in March of 18. I filled out mine as a offer to purchase half of the co-op north quarter. And Jim said he hadn't got his written out. I changed it all with his name. He signed it. We sent them in, or I delivered them to Crystal Valley. In August, we were talking and we decided it'd be good if we'd get the co-op to give us the right of way for the 80 feet for Willard Street. And we asked them if they wanted to give it to the city or if they would give it to us. And we would make sure it went to the city so Willard Street could go from the school all the way down so that people live on the west end can drive straight down to the school. We both thought it was a great idea. I wrote up the revised purchase order as asked by Paul. We both signed our copies. I gave them to him. And now Jim said last month, he isn't gonna give it to him. I still intend to surrender mine as written right there. My half of it. It's 80 by whatever my width is. So
All right, we'll take that under advisement.
please give Robert those letters when you're done looking at them. I know.
We'll have to. We'll have to all have a copy of that. I have to look at that a long time to understand all that, so.
All right.
Well, it was written by me, so it's not legal. I'm not a lawyer. I
I
have
just
no
want to make
clue.
sure.
The thing is, this
But-
is the purchase agreement. We did agree to those terms. They did not make the final closing documents. So
Yeah.
our agreement isn't withstanding anywhere. This is our
There's a
first,
clause that says that the purchase agreement, everything in the purchase agreement goes. And I asked Paul that day because Jim came early to do his. And then I showed up on time and he left. And I asked Paul if everything was in there so we could donate that or surrender it to the city to make that street for the betterment of Good Thunder. And Paul says everything's there. Well, I didn't have a lawyer. None of it. Paul's not a lawyer. He just works there. We all agreed that it was going to be there. Paul said he would give me an affidavit, David, stating that that is the reason the co-op gave us that 80 feet for no money. Didn't cost us a cent for that 80 feet.
Back when this was happening, did the city ever indicated that they wanted the street? Or that they
Well,
would
see
take
what
it?
happened, the co-op had contaminants on the property.
Right.
And I asked them, well, would you consider just giving it to the city? They said.
No,
"We-"
but I'm not asking what
No.
you were doing. Did the council ever indicate? Because there's this whole process we have to go through street dedication. And this
Okay.
doesn't cover any of it.
Okay, they're at both sides of Willard. The
Yeah.
Willard is a grassland that comes down the
Right.
hill and it hits my property and then it goes, Jim's hits,
I'm just
and then
asking.
the rest of
Right.
Willard. Well,
nothing
what,
was done.
Okay, I'm just asking, did the council okay that at that time? Because they have to have, they have to be
No,
on the,
this was-
they have to be on the record as indicating that this is something that would be beneficial to the city. Not just because somebody wants to donate it. There's all kinds of times when people want to donate property to cities, that cities will just say no because it's
Okay.
gonna cost too much.
does it matter when they say they would take it?
Right now, there's nothing before the council even asking them to consider it. The council
Okay,
needs to be
well, I'm
first.
trying to make the point clear.
Yeah.
That the reason we got it, I didn't get mine with a false pretense of keeping it.
Okay.
And he's not turning it over.
And that's something's completely separate, than anything with the council. I'm just saying
I'm
that
just letting
before the council take any action, they would have to have
Yes.
something in front of them first. And that should happen before any of the property owners are looking at transferring the property.
Well, what happened, there was contaminants on the soil.
Yeah,
And the co-op said they didn't want to bring a third party involved on the sale. It was Jim and I. And then Jim and I was supposed to make sure the city got it. At that time, after it took 3 years and 1 month for it to go from purchase agreement to us buying it, which was April of this year.
and that may be, I'm
then-
just saying, what the process is for the council. We don't need to get into it. You can certainly give that into it. But I can tell you where my recommendation is going to come from. If there's contaminants on the property, I'm probably telling the city to
There
stay
is
far
no
away.
doubt. Everything's been
Okay.
cleaned up.
But the council has to make a determination before any of this happens, that there's some benefit to the city. in
Okay,
getting
I'm
this.
making it clear what was written up in the purchase agreement.
Right,
Okay, that is all I'm making clear here.
Yep.
And that I did not take the land fraudulently.
okay.
Okay.
I'm just saying that if you want the council to take
I
action.
don't think
you have to
land
do it
was taken
someplace else.
fraudulently. They divided that thing into 3 pieces, which you helped divide. They didn't.
They
There was
told, Paul told me, the guy from co-op told me, I'm sending Bolton Mink out to survey it. I want you to follow them around and put them where it's at and tell them where you want that street to be. So you can surrender it. And then they kept closing it, and closing it,
Right.
and it got, I live up there in the town.
If you want the council to consider something, you need to give something to the city indicating what you're asking the council to consider.
I just did. So from this day forward, they know what's on there.
All right, take that under advisement. Anybody else send with community comment?
I have one more. I have been the butt of the Prom and Ashley's families on Facebook.
That's a dispute
And
between
I am
residents and has
going
nothing to
to
do
tell
with
you
this.
this.
I don't think we can get involved in social media at our public
It's
meeting,
not
can we?
social media.
It's a
She
dispute
used
between
the
two
city
residents.
cameras for personal entertainment, and thus they were having a fit because I drove on a sidewalk with my snow blower. I would like to see a motion or a policy, as you call it, as I understand, made that it cannot be for anybody to sit and put on social media a policy against such a thing. I didn't even know about it because
Those cameras are on the front of her house. My cameras are on the side of my house.
My cameras were not used in anything involving you. That is a dispute between two residents. I never used the city cameras to view that. The only time I viewed that was when Robert came in here and requested it.
And we never got it as.
Yes, you did.
No,
Robert has it on. his
Robert
CD.
has it.
Blank. I got it laying on.
If it's-
It's a still, it's not a video, it's a still picture
So
is
when
what
I
it
gave it
is.
to you and you opened it up and it was blank, why didn't you come in and say, hey, I think you transferred something
Because
around?
Robert's trying to open a girl.
I didn't
convenience
even
store and run a
view it.
trucking company. So
If you have a complaint about city staff, what you need to do is you can send it to the personnel committee, which is the mayor.
I live with the
And
mayor.
Harris, okay. But then
You
we'd
know about
be,
it.
then we'd be giving it to Ms. Carroll's. And then she will take any appropriate action regarding the complaint, but it has to be something that's in writing.
Okay, anything else? If not, we can move on to unfinished business. The school, I think we touched on that. We touched on the quotes. Any questions on the quotes? If not, we'll talk to them about 2 weeks from now. Tom Shoemaker, we have you down here as a credit for your water bill that we all have in our council packet.
Yep, we discussed it last week, so I pulled them and calculated the amount like you guys asked, so that's about me here.
So it's all good.
That was all done.
Yeah, it's, you guys wanted to confirm the dollar amount, that's why it's back in there again. So it's back in here, this is the dollar amount, and if you guys approve the recrediting of it, I will do so and work with Tom to get that how it would like to be done.
How do you,
Because we all agreed that we credited them back. We just wanted to know what the dollar amount was.
wanted to know for sure.
We had no problem with it because you weren't using any of this.
So we're all good with it?
Yeah,
All right.
It was last time.
Make a motion just so it's clean.
What was the dollar amount?
1284.31.
Somebody make that motion for 12. You got it? Someone a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right, new business, rental applications. I guess we touched under that on Ashley's business already, right?
Yep.
Okay. And we did forget Chris. Well, I guess he'll be the last guy. Dakota Mart license approval. Did you take it down there?
So I took it down there. I've stopped in twice about it. It's apparently my fault because I didn't tell her when her license was due. The deputy reached out to her and said, as a business owner, that's your responsibility, not the city's. I had taken her an application. It wasn't returned. It was returned after the fact. She has now returned the application and paid the fee. I spoke with Chris. We issued her a temporary license that is going to expire at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. When the deputy went down there and talked to her, he made sure that all of her tobacco products, even rolling papers, everything was removed from the facility. So
So she has a temporary license and we just need to approve
You
it.
need to approve hers for the.
You
the
need to
rest of the
approve
year.
her license for the next.
And it's all current now.
Yep, she came in, she filled out the paperwork, it's submitted to the state and she's paid the $100.
And the funds cleared the bank?
Yes, she paid cash. She paid cash, yeah.
All right, somebody want to make a motion then to approve that license?
Make a motion to approve the tobacco license.
Somebody second,
I'll second it.
all in favor? I oppose, motion carried. Are we back on auto pay?
There's never been auto pay.
Oh,
That's a joke.
I was, no, the answer, she said she was, but no, the answer is no.
Bad joke.
Just saying.
I didn't know
Just
what you're
saying.
talking about first. No, she, and
15,
15 months?
15.
14 months.
August of
A year ago.
a year, yeah, a year ago? No,
15 or 16 months. In the county, right? They don't.
I still wish you guys,
It's 18 months behind.
Yeah.
What?
I still wish you guys just had given them the loan, not taking the money from the county.
Yeah.
It'd be so
Yeah.
much easier to take action.
Well, the county doesn't do action until they actually close their doors.
I know,
We've,
but
we,
yeah.
We would have had more
talked about-
teeth, because we would have been the,
Well, you have more risk here because you're only on the hook for half. If
Yeah.
we don't really do anything, if we do something, you'd be on the hook for more.
And we talked about it.
Yeah.
We're almost better off just to pay it and walk away because the legal fees will cost more than.
Well, you-
Fees and the cost, and it's just, that's.
At what point, Chris, do we do that? Where do we say it's got to be a write-off?
You don't say it until the county comes asking you for the money.
Yeah.
There's no reason to give them a check and try to take care of it. You hope for the best until that happens.
Yeah.
But at this point, mentally speaking, financially speaking on the budget, you probably consider it a loss. And the county does that. They expect a certain amount of these are gonna, actually, the way I view the county, they view almost all they're gonna fail. They're just hopeful to, and surprised when they don't. So.
It's just a bigger deal for us because we
What's the
said
bigger deal?
it's a what, 100 bucks, $120 for every water meter in town that
Well,
goes.
it's a bigger deal for you that, plus it was a particular type of business that you thought was gonna be very beneficial to the city, and it's very beneficial to the city, and it's one of, a half dozen businesses that people are going to remember if they come to Good Thunder, or that they might come through, so yeah, I understand all that. Yeah. All the practical reasons, everything else, the financial reasons are just different.
So we just wait till the county calls for it and that's.
Then you wait for the county to call for it.
Do we start the budget for that? You know how we got future things? Do we put some money away so we pull that out later, not have to pull it out of general or?
You should budget for it, but probably I would put under for 2023. It's just included in the budget for that year.
I don't think you would have enough budgeting time. I mean, the county would sure act on it next 2 years, wouldn't they?
Well, but that's why if you put it on your budget as a loss in 2023, I think you're going to. I don't think there's much chance that they're going to do something this year. But,
Yeah.
and then if you just kind of keep it and rotate it, you're always going to be fine.
All right. Well, then Chris sat in on our personnel meetings. We had discussions on multiple things. Chris, you want to explain what?
Sure. We had discussion about a bunch of different issues and kind of how the city should be looking at kind of moving forward and going through things. There was a number of suggestions that were made and a couple of things that we kind of discussed as the personnel committee. One of the things I had suggested is that the council, as things go forward, you may want to consider having different council members be the liaison for different departments. So we're not necessarily having one person have to do everything. Right now, everything for better or worse runs through the mayor. This would give everybody a little bit more chance and will kind of open some of the dialogue. That's something that's very typical for other cities. I don't know that the mayor actually would like that. I think he kind of likes having everything go through him, but I'm not looking at that for Robert in particular as looking for something that's going to be put on a policy kind of moving forward. We also discussed the personnel committee and how it's kind of configured and how that should look going forward. What I would propose to the council is that you give a motion allowing me to prepare an amendment to your city code that would create a planning commission or a personnel commission that would basically be the council as a whole, that you would meet quarterly, meeting with both of the employees and you were getting some input from them, and then annually having a review, a personnel review that would be through a closed meeting. And you could do the personnel review much more quarterly if you'd want to. But currently, that's not something that's permitted under your code, and so we'd have to look at amending the code. But I would give everybody a little bit more say. I think I think you have to take a look at what's unique about Good Thunder, and I think there's lots of interconnections between parties and Good Thunder and relationships, and I think all that's good, but I think having a little bit broader base for the whole council rather than just being two members of the council would be beneficial. And it gives everybody kind of a voice on that as that changes, so to take a look at it. But so my proposal, or what I would suggest to the council, is that we do amend the city code regarding the personnel committee and extend that to the full council and going forward. Yeah, if we put that with the liaison, you still have city staff. I mean, it's not a matter of you're not, at every meeting, you're gonna see Ashley. I mean, every meeting, you're gonna see, pretty much all your employees, as you did tonight. I think the only employee they have or somebody, advisor, is me and the engineer that doesn't show up every time. Which I'm sure after tonight, you guys are more than glad they don't show up at every meeting, so.
So how does that work then? If somebody's taking time off, everybody gets notified?
What I'd suggest is that we have that liaison, so you have the council member that's gonna be working with them, that they would give notice to that person. And depending on what you decide to do with the services and going forward, if Ashley's taking time off, there's a possibility that you have somebody that's gonna be able to step in for periods of time to take over some of that stuff. So we can put policies in place, but, and the personnel committee is gonna be able to work that out, but I wouldn't envision having an employee have to tell the entire personnel committee that they're taking time off, just because that becomes public
So one
meetings.
somebody, whoever we decide
Right,
would be
right.
getting that
So we
notice.
just,
and they can-
have that
they can-
liaison, right?
Okay,
So it could be one for each department.
Yeah, one for each
essentially.
department, yeah. And again, that can be, if you wanted it all to be the mayor, that's fine. I'm just trying to take some things off the plate or kind of moving things around, but that's, and that's the way I would envision is where lots of cities do it, where you're actually making these assignments at the beginning of the year. So every time you have a new council, you could be changing up with those assignments or what would make sense or what doesn't. So if somebody has a particular expertise in streets or, snow removal or parks, you can kind of put them, as the liaison for those portions.
So like the committees that we already have, just.
Yep. So the committees would have, have a council liaison that they're talking to or kind of as a go-between.
How do we proceed?
Just give me a motion to go forward with it and I'll put together a proposal, ordinance. They would change their code.
How's everybody else feel? I'm for it.
I mean, I'm for it. I feel as a personnel committee member, I haven't been able to be there for the employees as much as I want to be and be doing. And when there's been issues brought up, I don't know how to handle them sometimes when it comes from our employees. You know what I mean? So I think it would be better. So.
Myself, I would like it for the point of reviews or wages, whatever. I think we need the whole council.
Now, you've always said that over and over.
Yep.
And I think they'll provide you some of that there. So, all right, well, I'll go forward. I'll put that stuff together. So I know there's a motion. I don't know if
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make that a motion if everybody was okay with it,
Tom made a motion, someone second,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
We also discussed a number of other things I'll be giving you some feedback on that I don't need action on. One is just kind of looking at whether or not the council members should be a W-2 or 1099 employees and exactly what your pay should look at, because I honestly didn't remember the answer tonight. The breaks, I'll take a look at that issue. The council needs to make a determination whether you want me to go forward in looking at a social media policy for city staff and council members. A lot of cities have that in place. We heard a member of the community had some issues with that or not. I can certainly give you some examples of what other cities are looking at if that's something you're interested in having put in place.
Sure.
I think having policies in place makes sense. Policies can be changed. You did that tonight. You changed your personnel policy. So if we can put something, this would be part of the personnel policy. I'll go and look at the language in there and see if there's something else. But if you want me to go ahead and do that, I can put together a social media policy that's been used by other cities and where we want to go from it.
There's a social media policy and our personnel policy.
And I'll take a look at that and kind of go forward with it.
Are you trying to limit people's freedom of speech or what?
We're trying to do that to kind of.
Because I was just reading
That would be in that.
manual, there's some really, in our HR manual, there's some really good verbiage that talks about First Amendment.
Right.
So we'll have to make sure that that doesn't.
But you have some of them. I mean, if we're talking like, if we're looking at the firefighters and things of that nature, they might have some First Amendment rights in what they're looking at doing. But there are also HIPAA protections and other protections that we have to be looking out for other citizens and what they're looking at.
Right.
So, for some purposes, it's not uncommon for cities that will have one policy for the council members and another policy that's going to be for city staff that be put in place. Because pretty much you're going to be protected with freedom of speech, anything you say in council members or something of that nature. But we'll look at the kind of directions and it'll be no matter what you want to take a look at. So, yeah, are you looking, if we put a policy in place, does it have the potential of infringing on somebody's First Amendment rights? Always. We want to have a kind of a balancing act and looking at it that nature. And I guess let's do.
Well, and this policy doesn't affect my wife, so she's gonna say what she wants to say, just so you guys know.
Well, from my perspective, I'm not looking at directing anything that's going to be towards any particular parties, just to take a look at it and I'll take a look at the policy. And it wasn't being directed at the personnel committee because of any particular incident. And it's just something more in general.
Everything's driven by particular.
And it's
incidents.
very possible. I'll take a look at the stuff that's in personnel policy and say that, we don't want to necessarily change anything there at all. The ones that we've that have recently done have been pretty much implemented because the League of Minnesota Cities has recommended it strongly. So that you'll see a lot of model ordinances that they put in place and that they thought that was going to be something that would be appropriate. So assuming that there's no objection to that, I'll put information together so you can have something to take a look at. And I would suggest at that point, you may want to get city staff and in particular, get them some say on what they want to take a look at.
You breezed over breaks. What's that about? You said something about breaks.
There was a discussion over employee breaks and the amount of time and whether or not they had to be within morning, one in the afternoon. As to how those are going to be put in place. Vision that would get changed in the same manner that we may have looked at what the lunch break was. And the question that I was going to double check on that is just to, there's lots of laws out there, so I want to double check with both federal and state laws to what we're doing on breaks.
Yeah, because I think they talk about the, 15 minutes per 4 hours, but they don't specify when they have to be taken.
Right.
So.
Right, but your personal policy right now seems to indicate there has to be one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
On our policy, it does.
Right.
Paid 15-minute break is allowed within each 4 consecutive hours of work. So it doesn't mean you can combine them.
No. But I think, if we're talking about her picking up her children, the council gave her permission to do that.
And again, we didn't follow policy.
Okay, well, then we should.
One of the things that was brought up in the personnel committee, and one of the things I will take a look at is whether or not the federal medical or the Family Medical Leave Act actually kind of applies to those situations.
Yeah, there's 16 hours in there. They can pick up kids from school. There's a lot of stuff in there.
I think it actually might be a little bit more specific in regards to what we're looking at there or not. But again, it's also it's one of the things we're looking at to make sure that the policy that's written is the policy that's being, how it's actually being enacted.
Mhm.
And that's going to happen with almost any business or any city that we have is, you have policies in place, but, people don't look at them all the time. And then practices don't necessarily follow policy. And we're just, trying to make sure that everything's coming back in form. So we'll want to take a look at what's happening and they kind of go forward. But that's, just to bring the council up to date, that's what we talked about. And that's what you're going to see some additional information coming back on. And let's see. And then we talked on the council that, regarding the rental license. So those were the 5 issues that I have. The only other question I have is whether or not the council wants me to take a look at the street issue that you received here. As 2 council members may have conflict. I don't know if that's something you would rather have me take a look at. You guys want to take a look at it, decide what you want to do. I actually have no idea on the street dedication. But
You can take a look at it, but it didn't make our final closing documents. We said that if the city ever wanted to build a road through there, we'd be happy to put it through there. Now it's a problem because I put power through there. If you put an 80-foot road through there, I have to tear my office down.
It would never be an 80-foot road to start with.
I know.
The right of way, it's a 80-foot right of way. The road would never be over what, 30 feet wide, probably.
But you know, people have problems and I'm having to build my own access and put my own power in, and now people don't have my own power. It's just ridiculous, you know?
But you know, you can also say, and I know you can't say this, but the stuff that's posted on social media is ridiculous. I mean, you posted on there that you went to a convention in wherever, Atlanta or whatever, I got it mailed to me, that you wish you could have that speaker come and talk to us so we knew how to talk to our people.
Yeah, she's an amazing HR speaker. She's amazing.
We don't know how to talk up here or what?
We are driving our employees away for the last 30 years. It's not the employees, it's the leadership. If
You really believe that?
I 100% believe that, because when you read through the HR policy, it talks about how we should treat municipal workers. Actually, we should be treating them better than the general stuff. And we treat ours like crap.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm going to these things to learn about HR and how to treat my people. We're writing all kinds of manuals and stuff up. And yes, she's amazing. You know? And the thing I took out of hers is that I'm not trying to be right. I'm trying to get this right. And it's for future things too.
I just think that's a poor place to put your feelings about how you think this council is.
Did I say to come to the council, or did I say our people? I don't remember in my post.
Oh, I got it right here.
College education.
I don't, me either.
I posted, that's my kid's birthday today.
I'm gonna look for it, I won't find it, but anyway. That stuff in your social media can get a lot of people in trouble. I'm a firm believer in that.
I think things happen.
I keep my social media pretty neutral. My wife can say whatever she wants. If she's pissed off, I tell her to shut her down, but she's like angry about stuff. And she has a right to be.
All right, well, we can go on for this forever because I mean, I agree with you that the road would never be an 80-foot wide road. It's an 80-foot easement with maybe someday a 30-foot road or maybe never.
Wait, we don't even have an easement, do we?
No.
There's no
no-
one that.
On the sewer, there's an easement there.
Robert?
Because there's sewer underground.
Tracy's got her hand raised on here. I don't know if she's,
Pardon?
Tracy's turning to, got her hand raised. I don't know if she wants to
Oh,
unmute and make a.
forgot all about that. Tracy.
Yeah, I just was going to add in about the rental license renewal. I don't know if Mariah had contacted you guys, but Glenn usually always did it with myself and Judd, and now he handed it over to Mariah. And he is not back from Florida till April or May. So I'm just wondering, is this, I'm trying to avoid if we're gonna have a fine for the rental renewal or what this would cause by this.
Tracy, Timberbrook has submitted their paperwork and everything already. Glenn sent it back in. He gave me his Florida address, so he sent that all back in. And then I don't know if he's gonna set up the inspections with, or Mariah will set them up with you and Dave, or how you guys want to make that work, but you're on the city's half, you guys have everything in already.
Okay, she was supposed to notify you that it would not happen until like April or May when Glenn gets back.
Okay.
So that's why I just wanted to double check on that to make sure that we weren't missing the deadline and getting ourselves in trouble.
No, on my end, that's completely fine with me as long as council's okay with it. Like I said, your paperwork's in, so as long as your inspection date is set, you should be. good to go.
We learned-
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Here, Tracy.
So where are we at?
I gave you an update of what we talked about for personnel committee in my notes, so I think from my perspective, I think I've covered everything that I need to cover. If anybody's got questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer the questions.
I do. Where does this leave me? I should not go pick up my children. I should figure out another means that, so whatever's figured out on your end, or continue what I've been doing, or.
I think. What you have been doing.
Okay.
Until we take a look at it. I think it's really much more of making sure that the policy is kind of reflects what's happening.
At what point does practice become policy?
Chicken or the egg.
Right? It's true.
There's lots of lawsuits that try to make those determinations.
I
Everything
know.
comes down to a fact by a case basis. So there's not necessarily a specific answer that I can give to you as to when, this policy. We know what policy is because that's what's been approved by the RAS. Practice really never does become policy. It just may be something that's not enforceable by the city's perspective. So that's one of the reasons that if you're doing something long enough in practice, you can go back and change the policy, or if you're not changing the policy, then you can address the practice and say, well, it shouldn't have been there in the first place, but it just needs to be addressed again. So it's a good question. It's just, that's a nice legal answer that basically said nothing. So
here we've been doing it for a year and a half, so that's in essence what the policy is. So maybe the policy needs to be changed the way we're doing it rather than changing the way we're doing it.
yeah, and that's certainly something that the council can take a look at. I'm the parts that I have here is a couple other questions just to see how it interacts with other portions of the law. But my guess is that the council would probably be looking at doing it as it's been done in practice. And the council made a different policy decision tonight that they changed. So I don't know that they would, I can't speak for them, but that's where we'd be looking to go.
Well, you said that has to do with a lot of different things because that would carry over to not just personnel policies,
right,
but all ordinances and that kind of stuff along the way.
Well, sometimes, cities may have policies or other things that are in fact that state statute or federal law would preempt. So I'm just seeing if there's any preemption. And that's not terribly uncommon. Sometimes you see things that overlap. We have a traffic code, for the city of Good Thunder that pretty much reads the same as what state statute does. And so we're pretty much preempted, or get alcohol type of thing. So it's just a matter of taking a look at where we're at and getting things updated.
All right. Anything else about Chris? We got the COG lady or that Mike as far as mentoring. We're gonna make a decision tonight, take it under consideration what the COG has to offer. Would we join them by the year for what was it, $4,700 would be paid by the hour?
I'm on board with just getting them for the year.
Well, after that last hiring process, when that guy there, we taught him more about the hiring process than he knew. We're kind of a teacher to them people. I didn't like that part. And I mean, everybody agreed that night that
Definitely, that was poor.
that was very, very poor. I mean,
But if she helps you like 1 hour a week, that's about a year's worth of membership. When there's a lot,
It's a good,
I mean,
it's a value.
right?
if we got somebody
Even that.
that we really should have spoke up and said, thank you, but no, thank you. We want to, we have a bigger deal to deal with.
That
We
was
should have
kind
got
of
somebody else.
Kind of our.
It kind of was.
Yeah.
We should have got somebody else at that
The
time.
thing is, when you seek advice, it's just like we're sitting here listening to Chris. I mean, it's just going in and it's coming right back out,
Yeah.
What you're saying is what we're going to do, and we got to get out of that habit. We got to be looking and asking more questions.
I think you can take a look at it. The two things I would point out is one, I don't know that you budgeted for that money. So you just have to figure out where that money is going to come from. Secondly, I don't remember which of the organizations different cities use. I know that Lake Crystal has been using a governmental entity for the interim city administrator there, and they've used them in the past a number of times. And whether or not they would provide services but they have a lot more staff people than two.
Yeah.
We use South Central Cooperative.
CSS time too, that might have been all they had.
And Mike Campbell is the same guy.
No.
I think the cog's bigger than she said, though. She's works there,
So
she's
that
got a
may be-
supervisor, but I think there's more people in the organization.
But I was just telling you, there might not have been any more people at the time.
Right.
That guy must have been it.
Mike has an individual from Albert Lee that wants $80 an hour. Well, you'd have to pay $160 a day just to get him here.
Right.
Because you're gonna pay, you know. She was a longtime clerk over there. She has a lot of knowledge. Again, you have her come over for 3 hours a day, so that's, it's gonna add up pretty quick.
It is, but you're looking kind of almost at apples and oranges, because you're looking at one, the idea is that you're gonna have something in place, you know, from now on, you know, for a resource that's gonna be able to answer questions and the rest. A resource that you probably use quite a bit. The first year, you may not use it as much other years. Versus something where it's, you know, short-term, you know, idea where you're trying to fix things and then you're not necessarily gonna have the same type of resource.
We had the council of governments probably for 30 years, 25. And it got to the end where they were no help at all.
It was terrible.
Zero, zip, but we paid the bill,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I agree with Sarah that I'm kind of on board with the council governments at this point.
To be a member or hourly or
Member,
member? Yeah.
member.
With everything we got going on,
Probably the same cost.
Pardon?
Probably the same cost, we go hourly or be a member.
Yeah, I think it'd even be more. if we
Well,
were
especially if she
member.
came and worked for a week, like she said, if she was on a week's vacation, she'd come here for that's 40 hours.
Yeah, that would be very handy.
Right.
You could fill in a medical or a sick or whatever, you know.
While that's what she said, I don't think that's quite what she meant on the week that would be gone. I think what she would be here is for a couple of days.
to answer the phone or
And
return
the
messages. for a
minimum
couple
that's
days.
necessary for the.
Yeah, she wouldn't be here for a week.
Did you experience much with her?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so I know that lady in Pemberton, our clerk abruptly quit at a council meeting and just boom, I'm done. And seamlessly, she kept payroll going. She came out 2 days a week. She paid the bills. She did the essentials and we got by for almost 3 months until they hired another clerk. So it was good. She was good. You know. Main thing was getting payroll, you know, for the city employees and everything and the taxes and the para and all that stuff. All got taken care of.
Yep. Well, do we want to make a no motion tonight to hire them? Do you want to set a number of hours or we'd like to see her come out to help? Get the wheels in motion?
Well, where are we going to take the money from? Future improvements? I'm asking, I'm not trying to be.
You could, there's what, 15 in future improvements for the city and if we're not doing the parking lot.
Whatever happened to that $50,000 desk fund we had? Remember that was the running joke and all that stuff came out of that fund? There was like.
I think we took what that
somewhere else.
improvements were, and I think we took that out and allocated it somewhere else along the line. That was back when Heather was here. She was the one that picked it all out, right?
Yeah.
And there was still a bunch left and it made no sense to having that in there with all the improvements that we done. If I remember right. So.
Well, anyway, if we do, I guess, you know, I mean, I'm for doing it.
I say, start it ain't do it for a year and, you know, maybe we don't need it after that. But I mean, at least start it. I mean, I think they got some.
Oh, somebody want to make a motion then to hire the council of governments to. Or join the council of governments for whatever that $4,700 it was. For a year, see how it goes. See what they can work with the schedule with Ashley and. Get everybody on board. That
It's a
sound right?
year, right? That you have to do it.
Yeah, and she said they prorated, so they'll take the first month off of there too. Because, or February.
When she said if
Month
we
and a half.
join, you know, we call her this week and we say we're gonna join, she said they'll probably start at March, prorate February or start in March is what is likely to happen.
So it'll actually be less than the amount she quoted us.
So does somebody want to make a motion to that? effect? Someone second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. All right, Tom, you had some questions on,
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this really, really quick. So wipe your minds free. I got like 2 questions I'd like to have an answer to. I gotta find it here again now.
You see those 2 budget numbers in there, Tom, the one at 30% of budget already for the fire department and 1/6. Look at those, like one was.
No, I'm looking at, have we paid our insurance for the year yet?
For,
Everything to,
that was
In the fall, right?
August, I believe, last year, fall of last year, that all that was taken care of.
okay, so what we just looked at here recently, that is, we don't have any bill for that. I just want to make sure that we're not missing a bill.
I don't think so.
Okay, I just asking the question.
Uh-uh.
And then, have we paid our natural gas bill?
Yes.
There is no natural gas allocated out of any fund. For either this month, January or December.
Natural gas is paid, so,
You see what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, it's budgeted. We have money in the budget in each department, but we don't have anything taken out of the department for this past month.
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta get your head wrapped around the fact that we're not talking about the bills that we looked at tonight. We're talking about bills we looked at last month.
so, yeah, you're talking about January's natural
Yeah,
gas.
yeah.
Isn't shown on here.
Yeah,
Um,
and we approved that bill.
yep,
It's in
and
there.
it's been paid.
It's not taken out of the account. It's not in the accounting yet. There's nothing telling me that
Yeah,
it's been paid. There's nothing telling me that we're on budget. There's nothing telling me anything.
yeah,
And
I will get that answer and I can email you tomorrow about it, because it's
then in
receipts and proof of pay, I guess.
in contractual services, there's another entry that has been taken out, that is in the accounting for general government for $475 that I can't see a draft for.
So when you see like, so January contractual services, that you're not gonna find a bill for 475.75. It could be 2 bills that total that 475.
Okay, I can't find that either.
So, I understand. I can find those and then I can email.
Did you
them
do
over.
that?
Yep.
Yeah. Last month, that was a question I had last month too. It was $9.50
You
or
found
something.
those
last
too
month.
for me.
Yeah, and the ones from last month, were 2 separate ones that totaled that amount, but one of them was coded wrong, so we moved them to the correct one.
Okay.
But I'll get you from.
Okay. That's what I wanted to get accomplished here, actually, at the last meeting that we didn't have, that was canceled,
Yeah,
was go through all of this kind of line by line and line by line to kind of get everybody all lined up, but I don't want to do that tonight because I gotta get up at 2:30 to go to work, so.
and like you said, Tom, the Northwest Gas concession stand would come out of Parks.
Right,
City Hall would come out of the general.
right,
City Shop would probably come out of
right.
Highway Maintenance.
so when auditors were here, we set up in Banyan, when you go to pay, you pull up Northwest Gas and you type in the name and it populates every account for City Hall, the fire station, all of them. It populates all their numbers in there. So all I do is put the dollar amount in there for the correct department
Yeah,
and then it sends. it
yeah,
over.
But it takes it out of that
Yeah,
department's
so-
funds.
So when Burkhart's were here, we set up all the correct fund lines for those to pull from.
right. I can
So-
see that from how you've got the checks listed, but I don't see it in the accounting
Yep.
itself here.
Yep, so I will, and I can send you the January's confirmation of payments on those if you would like.
Okay. And that's all I want to talk about tonight.
All right. Anybody else with anything?
I just had a question. Would you prefer in January of last year, or 2 years ago, I want to say it was, you said you wanted to go back to signing checks like at council meeting, like the bills, like you used to do with Cheryl, apparently? Is that
Yep.
something,
Signed every check.
is that something you want to go back to rather than me trying to get a hold of you during, the week or?
Well, I mean, I've been signing the checks now.
No, I
She
know.
means, she means have them sitting on your desk
I'm saying
tonight.
like.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fine. That's how Cheryl did it forever.
Rather than be here on meeting night
Yeah.
for you to sign than me calling you and trying to find a time we need to.
Yep, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yep. And we should always remember to take those bills that are back there behind you and pass them around to all of us.
Yeah.
So we can see, right, Chris? We should physically look at those bills that are in that envelope.
Council members probably review the bills prior to the meeting, so no, I wouldn't put it as part of the record.
How would you see them prior?
Come in the packet.
You can meet a half hour ahead of time.
Well, we came an hour and a half ahead of time, 10 o'clock.
Got a personnel committee.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is for Eagle Lake and for like Crystal, 2 council members meet a half hour ahead of the council meeting to go through bills.
Okay,
You know, it's not something that the whole council would do. I mean, I don't know that you want to take a half hour every meeting and go through bills.
all right.
You know, so I would just, and that rotates. You know, every meeting, it's 2 different council members sit down and meet and kind of go through it. You know, for like Crystal and Eagle Lake, you know, there's 4 council members and they rotate every other month, and I don't think the mayor ever has to do it.
Okay.
It's not saying that council members can't take a look at it, or it's not saying it's not public record if somebody wanted to go. But it seems to work, you know, quicker if there's, and then if there's one that they have a question on, they can pull, you know, before it's, you know, approved.
All right. Anything else under miscellaneous? Anybody? If not, make a motion to approve or adjourn.
We'll move.
Someone a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Chris, for coming out.
I heard him say something about.
Are you being held hostage?